Okay, can we have a roll call, please?
Commissioner Bernard,
Here.
Commissioner Kerner,
Here.
Commissioner Marino, Commissioner McKinley, Commissioner Sacks, Mayor Weinroth,
Here.
Vice Mayor Weiss.
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Commissioner Marino, would you please do the invocation and pledge of allegiance? Everybody please rise.
Dear God, as we gather here today, we pray that we are ever mindful of opportunities to render our service to fellow citizens and to our community. Keeping in mind always the enduring values of life, exerting our efforts in those areas and on those things upon which future generations can build with confidence. Let us continue to strive to make a better world. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Commissioner Marino. Okay, County Administrator, any additions, deletions, or substitutions to our agenda?
Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of the board, we have one add-on item, page 51, a certificate of recognition presented to Bob and Jeannie Taylor.
Very good. Do I have a motion to adopt the agenda as amended? I have Commissioner McKinley making the motion and the Vice Mayor seconding. Seeing no further discussion, all in favor, all opposed. The agenda has been approved. It's now time to move on to the consent agenda. Does anybody want to pull any items on the consent agenda? Commissioner McKinley.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I'd like to pull item 3E2G.
3E2G, that is the contract for Risk Management Department on the health insurance?
No, sir, that is under Community Services. It is the Southeast Florida Behavioral Health Network grant, financially assisted agency funding that we are providing to them.
All right. Do I have any other items that are being pulled?
Yes, please.
Commissioner Marino.
Under B3 contracts, yes, I would like to pull the healthcare contract.
Okay, so 3B2?
3B3.
3B3, okay, so that's the healthcare contract. All right. Seeing no further lights on, do we have any cards on those items?
We do, Mr. Mayor, on 3BB1, there's a non-speaking card from Christina Romulus. On behalf of the Path to College, our students and families, thank you for your support of this agenda item. Our flagship program helps low-income, high-achieving students who want to do good and go far get access to expert support to go to the best colleges and universities with the best scholarships.
Thank you, Commissioner.
And then we do have one speaking card on one of the items that was pulled, Mr. Mayor, on 3B3, Lori Mandel.
All right. We'll hold that one until we get to that. All right, so we're going to move the consent agenda. I'm looking for a motion. Got a motion from the Vice Mayor. Do I have a second? Seconded by Commissioner Sacks. Absent item 3E2 and 3B3, right?
No. 3E is an elephant, 2G.
Okay, I got it. You got it? She's got it too. All right, we're good. All right,
Page
so
11.
moving the consent agenda. Absent those two items, all in favor, all opposed, show the consent agenda has been approved. Let's move on to the first item that's been pulled by Commissioner McKinley.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. This is for financially assisted agency funding to the Southeast Florida Behavioral Health Network in the amount of $172,857 for them to simply provide training on the wraparound services model that we've instituted in Palm Beach County. This agency receives so much funding, both from state and local and federal sources. And I'm just not convinced that we need to be giving them $172,000 to do training on what they should already be doing in the first place.
Mr. Green, how are you? I guess it's time for a presentation.
Absolutely. Good morning, Mayor, Commissioners. I'm joined here today by Assistant County Administrator Chief Reggie Duran, of course, Deputy Director Taruna Malhotra and Helene Vitz. So this particular agreement allows us to provide capacity building for organizations who are working with some of the providers. We want to have fidelity to the model and the standards of care. So it also provides coaching and training and things of that nature. But more importantly, it gives us access to Southeast Florida Behavioral Health Network's database. And so that particular position allows the individual to give us the reports for us to be able to see what's happening with a lot of the clients that we're serving. And it gives us provisions for data sharing.
So you mean to tell me we can't get access to that database without giving them $172,000?
Well, I'm sure there are ways that we could work through that, but this gives us access to a lot of the reports and a lot of the clients that we're serving across the systems. And when we bring new agencies in to provide those types of services, it allows them to train agencies that we are working with so that they can enter information into the database, and then we can see what's happening to the client across the system.
How much money do we give Southeast Florida Behavioral Health Network outside of this funding?
There are a number of grants. I would say probably, well, you mean in all of the different, because we fund several initiatives with COSAP, with the NutriCare Coordination. So in total, I would probably say about maybe close to $1 million in various programs across this area.
Majority of those funds are,
Turn your mic on.
majority of those dollars are the pass-through from the grant. So we have a HUD grant and a COSAP grant, and we give those funds to CEFPED as an entity to distribute it to the other providers as well. And this particular contract is $57,000 a year with a 3-year contract, which is for the approval right now.
All right. I'm just frustrated because I think that, the governor, in a rare case, I agree with him, has made the wraparound services model that Palm Beach County has instituted the model that the rest of the state should be implementing. And I just am frustrated that CEFBEN can't find within its current budget $57,000 a year to share that data with us, because we're all trying to work on this together. We've got a drug policy manager in our county, and I don't understand why we have to outsource this type of work. And if we do have to outsource it, I don't understand why CEFBEN can't do this without us having to give them money to do it. So,
Commissioner, you want to table this one and get some additional information from staff for the next meeting?
yes, I would. Thank you.
I have a motion to
Postpone?
postpone on item 3E2G. Do I have a second? Second. I have a second by the Vice Mayor. Seeing no further discussion, all in favor, all opposed? That's been postponed until our next meeting.
Okay.
Thank you. All right, we're going to move on to 3B3, and this is the healthcare contract. Commissioner Marino, did you want to start this off?
Well, I know that we all received a letter yesterday. Well, actually, that should be wrong of me to assume that. I received a letter yesterday from Brian Murray in reference to the contract, and so I just wanted a little bit more information before we voted yes or yay or nay.
Very good. Okay. Chief, would you give us a snapshot of what's going on here, how we got to today?
Yes, sir. I'm joined by Scott Marting, Director of Risk Management, Andrea Mackey, Assistant in Risk Management, as well as Helene Hesvid and Helene, Ann Halvin as well from the County Attorney's Office. As you're likely aware, we sent out an RFP with the full intent of providing a 5-year agreement with the winning bidder or proposer. During the course of that process, through all efforts that were within the guidelines of Palm Beach County code and requirements, there was a protest made. The amount of time required to mitigate that protest and vet through the process of assuring that everything was as it should have been extended us into a period of time where we thought we would have some challenges, and implementing an October 18th start for open enrollment. And so looking and considering the fact that, we had great concern of assuring that the, 8,500 employees and family that were part of the health program that we have here, that they will have the opportunity to assure that they would have time in place to get the appropriate care and transfer to the various doctors or make any changes or modifications or make decisions in regards to what their health benefits would look like in in calendar year 23. We felt that we had enough time and we really pushed the limits that we need to reach an agreement, an emergency contract agreement with the incumbent vendor, which is what we did. We reached out to them, had a 1-year agreement with them, which of course is not implemented until approved by the board. And since that time, I guess there's been other actions that have occurred that have caused the item to be pulled. But it was our full intent to implement a 1-year agreement, then turn around and pivot immediately and engage in a 5-year agreement with the prevailing, winner of the RFP that we had back in September.
Chief, let me just ask you a question.
Yes.
We have a situation here where someone's made a protest, which we have been able to mitigate, and it seems like we're granting them a benefit because of that procedural issue. Am I reading this wrong?
I wouldn't view it as a benefit. I would view it as the process took us to a point where we had no other course of direction that we felt would assure that we'd have the appropriate implementation of our health benefits plan. So I view it as process, unfortunately. I mean, it's tough to consider everything conceivably that could happen during the course of issuing an RFP. We had a challenge here, and we had to pivot and make sure, above all else, that the people that we serve through our organization, our employees, receive the benefits they deserve and got a timely fashion to make all appropriate decisions related to their health care.
But ultimately, if we did go forward with what's in front of us today, we're rewarding the party that made the protest with an extra year of a contract. Am I correct?
We would be giving them an additional year, yes.
Okay, very good. Commissioner Marino,
Do we have any cards?
we have one card. Let's hear what we have on our card.
All right, our only public speaker on 3B3 is Lori Mandel, United Health.
Good morning, Mayor Weinroth, commissioners, and staff. For the record, I'm Lori Mandel, Vice President of United Healthcare. My colleagues and I are proud to be selected as the future healthcare provider to the people and employees of Palm Beach County government. United Healthcare won this award through hard work and listening to all levels of county government as to what they wanted to achieve, and we earned this award because of our commitment to provide world-class customer service, more options for your employees, high level of access to mental health professionals, open, transparent billing, as well as major cost savings. All of you are the true servant leaders of this community, and we look forward to serving you and elevating your healthcare experience for you and your employees and family members. While United Healthcare was and still is prepared to serve Palm Beach County as soon as January 1, 2023, including the current open enrollment, we understand staff's trepidation due to the timing of issues. We're also ready and prepared to begin sooner than January of 2024, if the contract continues with the carrier who protested. Yes, we are disappointed that we may potentially wait another year to provide you with what we know will be a superior healthcare experience. But with that said, we are still honored and look forward to beginning our partnership with Palm Beach County. We were scheduled to meet with staff on September 15th in an effort to finalize our winning contract with Palm Beach County, but that meeting was postponed. Since the protest period has passed, we respectfully request the contract that our team worked so hard to earn be finalized immediately, so that in good faith, we can look forward to serving you. United Healthcare agreed to all items of your RFP, so negotiations would be minimal. We are prepared to begin negotiation immediately following this meeting, if so desired by the County Commission. Mayor and Commissioners, on behalf of United Healthcare, I thank you for your consideration, and we look forward to serving Palm Beach County.
Thank you. I appreciate the remarks you just made, and also appreciate the fact that you're not being a little more aggressive about trying to move this forward, not wanting to disturb what appears to be an agreement. But let me ask you a question. Would you be in a position to carry forward with the rollout of this contract if, on our side of the aisle, our staff was able to handle whatever paperwork needs to be processed in the time frame that's still left without an interruption of service for our employees?
Absolutely. We are very confident that we have plenty of time to get open enrollment completed and the implementation of all benefits, design, ID cards in hand, and all that before the effective date.
Very good. Thank you. Thank you.
I'm sorry, I'm coming. Scott, sorry. If I may, I, totally understand where, that there are some concerns. It's not surprising there are concerns. I totally understand United's position, but I just wanted to at least clarify where we were coming from a risk management standpoint.
Absolutely.
As I have 4 staff members within risk management. I look at this as a customer. We are the customer, but we're also the employees and the members that we service are customers as well. The implementation of open enrollment, I totally respect United Healthcare and where they're coming from, saying they're ready. There's a lot that happens on our side too, and while they're ready, pivoting at a date this late, I just want to make sure, I understand that the board has the final decision. I totally respect that. Whatever that is, we'll honor it. We will make it work. But it will be an incredibly bumpy ride. We work very closely with the clerk's office. There's over 600 particular tasks that go into open enrollment that get put in. The end result that people see in my benefits, there's a lot that goes into that process. And I just want to make sure that everybody's aware that there will be a significant disruption. Unfortunately, most of our members we have a lot of very, very seasoned veterans that work for the county that are 50+ years old. We all have pre-existing medical conditions. So we've got to worry about changing over care. There's going to be a lot of questions. There's going to be a lot of stuff, change management that has to happen on our end. And I just want the board to understand whatever decision is made here today, we will obviously honor that and implement it at your direction. But it will be a bumpy ride, and I think we just need to be eyes wide open and aware of that as we go through that process if the board makes the decision to pivot away from the one-year agreement with Cigna.
Thank you.
If whoever the incumbent was would have been selected for a one-year extension, we just reached a go or no-go date.
Very good. Thank you. Is Chief of Finance Ratcliffe available? Can you come on up? Can you identify yourself for the record?
Yes, my name is Radcliffe Brown, Chief Operating Officer of Finance for the Clerk's Office.
I had a conversation this morning with our Clerk of Courts, Mr. Abruzzo, and addressed this particular issue. Can you confirm whether the staff of the Clerk of Court would be able to implement the execution of this contract so that we would not have a disruption of service?
The Clerk's Office, we will be able to, whatever your decision is, be able to make the deductions and remit the payments as requested. We'll do whatever we can to make that happen.
Very good. All right, and to our county administrator, obviously this would put a lot of pressure on you. Are you in a position, if this board deems it appropriate, to pivot away from what's in front of us and go with United? Would that be something that could be implemented?
We will employ all measures to make it happen. But again, I do want to reiterate Ms. Scott's point. Normally our process is very smooth. You don't hear anything. This may be a bumpy ride, but we'll get there. We'll employ all the necessary personnel in order to make it work if the board deems it appropriate. But I do want you to know it won't be as smooth as we normally do open enrollment.
All right, I have.
And this is 16 years that we've been with Cigna, and so to make the change, yes, and we will be working, we're gonna, if the board deems it appropriate to go with United today, we will be meeting with you today. I will be involved in this process to ensure that all of our resources are put to make this work for our employees if
Very good.
the board makes that decision.
All right, I have 5 lights on, so we're going to have a little discussion on this. I'm going to start with Vice Mayor, and then I'll go into Commissioner Kerner.
Thank you, Mayor. Couple of questions. So would any employees lose the ability to continue to utilize the same physicians or service providers, healthcare providers?
So there was, during the RFP process, there was a network match. I actually have Brian Garrison here, who I'd like to invite up because he was closer to looking at the analytics on that. But the networks are very, very closely aligned with Cigna. Brian?
Yeah, we have very little disruption from Cigna to United in the disruption analysis that was done during the RFP process. I'm sorry. The disruption analysis that we ran when up against your current providers being utilized was strong versus your current carrier. So would it be 100%? It's never 100% when you make a transition, but they're very much aligned similarly from a network perspective.
Do you know how many people are impacted?
I don't know off the top of my head.
And my understanding is that, so we don't have the contract has not been finalized?
That is correct.
So that will need to be done. In addition, then it'll have to come back and then be approved before we can move forward with anything. Is that accurate?
County
I'm
Administrator.
gonna look at my legal procurement folks here. Because this will be an emergency, we could move forward based on your direction today to execute.
It's not going to be an
Uh-huh.
emergency. If you go with United today, it's going to be a regular 5-year agreement based off of the RFP process.
And do we then bring it back to the board for
Right, then it has to
ratification
be
at the next
approved.
meeting?
No, it'd have to be approved by the Board of County Commissioners at the next available meeting.
And we'll have it ready for you.
Andy, can we start the process of moving forward with United prior to that execution by the board? I think that's the question, because this is not an emergency contract. An emergency is only good for 1 year, so this would be a 5-year agreement that would be executed by the board.
You could move forward and have a retroactive agreement, which is approved by the board at a later date.
I did have one thing, Commissioner Weiss, if I could, to address one other question you had. There was I'm sorry, Vice Mayor Weiss.
Just don't call me late for dinner, right?
There is a disruption with Broward Health that I did want to bring to your attention because it was something that Cigna mentioned in their agreement, and it's developed, since the RFP. Part of it was just the Broward Health, the hospital, and now it's the doctors affiliated with it as well. It's not a significant disruption, but it is a disruption of note, and I just wanted to make sure that you were made aware of that.
All right, thank you.
We can actually bring the contract back to the board on the 18th and make it retroactive back to today if they start working with us today.
Okay, that was what you wanted to bring up?
Yes.
Okay, all right, very good. All right, Commissioner Kerner?
Thank you, Mayor. And it seems like the discussion is centering around making a final selection today to some degree, and the implication that it would be the first ranked bidder, which I'm agnostic on. But what my concern is that I'm hearing significant disruption and bumpy ride. I'm hearing that there would be loss of access to physicians to some degree. I know that they're not perfectly aligned, basically, so there will be some physicians and healthcare professionals that our employees won't have access to in the very near future. So I guess my question is, this was noticed as essentially a consent agenda item, and I understand why. And by the way, Mr. Dern and to risk management as a whole, I really appreciate all the efforts that you have done to ensure the stability of access to health care, given that there was a protest, that it didn't go to special magistrate. But everything that you've done to me indicates that you were looking to preserve the continuity of health care to our employees, and that's how we arrived at this point. But having said that, are the notice requirements met? Have we given the parties that were bidders and ranked in the top 3 an opportunity to provide their input here today through the publication of the agenda?
So the notice of intent to award was posted on August 10th. That was the recommendation of the selection committee. So the normal process would be there would be a 5 business day opportunity for a protest to be filed. Cigna filed a timely protest on, I believe, the 17th of August. It took about 4 weeks for purchasing to gather the information and make their response. They did so, I believe, on the 15th of September. And then there was up to till the 22nd, which was 5 business days. It ended up being 7 because of the weekend, but 5 business days for a special master. And basically at that point, and one of the things, as we go through this process, we have to plan on the worst case scenario. And a special master, had Cigna requested a special master, the special master could have, for example, taken 3 or 4 weeks, maybe a little bit longer. Unfortunately, I've been here 23 years and never had a special master, so I can only go with what the overall thought process was. And then, depending on how the special master ruled, say for example, it ruled in Cigna's favor, then United could have appealed the special master. And our goal once again was just to make sure that we had, as you mentioned, continuity of care for our members. The only other thing I wanted to point out, since I'm already speaking, is for clarification purposes on a contract. What would happen is the contract actually would be effective on 1/1, but we would start the change process now. So the contract would be effective on 1/1, and it would ensure 5 years of care through 12/31, was that 2027? But it would be, it would start effectively on 1/1.
Scott, we're talking about they're not completely aligned as far as the 2 networks. That situation would not be changed a year from now, would still be some.
That's correct. I mean, we run a disruption. We give them all the information, and in essence, they give us back a disruption report, and we look at the membership, and we look at how people might be affected. Doctors could come in and out of a network too, so that happens from time to time. We did note that there was not, significant disruption. Broward Health obviously was a concern. The selection committee was concerned about that, and that did factor in. And the only other comment I would make is since then, the physicians have actually are now no longer in network. The physicians affiliated with that hospital. Now, how many people that actually is, to be honest with you, off the top of my head, I don't know the answer to that. I know it's a small portion, but it is a portion.
Is there any way that United can do something to?
Yeah, so I'm very happy to report that we have an in-person meeting with the leadership at Broward Health on Thursday morning, and fully expect to resolve any contractual issues at that meeting and bring them back in network, the physicians as well as the facility.
Commissioner Kerner, did you have any more questions?
I guess the only question that I haven't gotten an answer to is, would it be appropriate to make a final selection today?
I guess to our legal beagle.
There's really no reason why we can't. The board certainly has the discretion. It's on the agenda. It was pulled from consent. I don't think that there's any reason the board can't make the decision.
Thank you.
Very good. All right, we got another card came in. We'll give Mr. Schiller the opportunity to speak. I think he's representing Cigna.
Good morning. Neil Schiller with Government Law Group, 137 Northwest 1st Avenue, here today representing Cigna. It was our understanding, again, that this meeting was to agree to a 1-year extension. This 1-year extension was negotiated with your staff. We were asked to, within 48 hours, to come to the county building and negotiate, be ready to be there for 5 hours and negotiate a 1-year extension. We did that. Your staff can give you the details on the benefits and savings that you're getting for this additional year. And may I remind you that you haven't negotiated a contract yet with United Health, or yes, United Health. I'm glad that they raised the issue with the Broward Health issue, the Broward Health physicians and facilities. But there's also another disruption that no one's talking about, which is the disruption to 1,500 members. Their costs of their prescriptions may go up. There is that disruption that no one is talking about. That's why negotiations should be had with United Healthcare to get to, if you want to award them a 5-year agreement, you should negotiate with them. And let me remind you this, that in your process, you were allowed to ask for a best and final offer. You were allowed to, your selection committee was allowed to ask for oral presentations where they could ask the proposers additional questions. None of that happened. So how do you know you're getting the best deal without even one negotiation meeting? Yet it seems like there are members of this board that are ready to just award United Health their contract without a negotiation meeting. That is fairly unusual. I think your staff did the responsible thing. They negotiated a very good 1-year extension. It's not over 5 years, over 1. And this gives them the opportunity to take their time to make the necessary changes and negotiate a substantive deal with United Healthcare.
Thank you. All right, we have, the county administrator would like to make a point? No?
Wait, I'll wait until.
You're going to wait? Okay,
I have a question. I have my light on for comments.
I know, and I'm,
This is, Neil, since you turned a card in late, let me just ask. It sounds to me like you're protesting the bid right now. I think the selection committee has already decided that at some point United will be our provider. And your comments don't really sound like they're to the extension. It sounds like it's to the bid in the first place.
Well, may I respond?
Okay, and then, and include in your response the outcome of the protest you filed.
Yes. So we filed a protest. Well, first off, I don't feel like I'm arguing the merits of the bid or the process thereof. It was raised that the disruption was raised by this board, and I don't think a complete view of the disruption was given. So I think from an education standpoint, it was my duty to provide that information to you. Secondly, to the extension, I've been advocating for the extension. I said it's a 1-year extension, and I feel like, and we negotiated it. So that's something that's information that wasn't necessarily brought to this board. I think you needed to have that information to make a fully informed decision. As far as the protest, we asserted our rights to file a protest within a timely fashion. There were several different parts to the protest, and if you don't mind, I'll get into them. Or if you want me to just tell you the genesis was, we felt that the local preference was inappropriately awarded to the third-ranked firm, and we felt, based on some incorrect math, that would have changed the result, which is why we filed the protest. There were additional issues raised in the protest, like the Broward Health physicians not being adequately identified, as well as the disruption for 1,500 members with your pharmacy that wasn't clearly identified in our view. Lastly, we felt that your consultant, Gallagher, didn't provide a great report, didn't necessarily provide an apples-to-apples comparison. A big issue with this RFP is that there were significant a number of trade secrets asserted by all of the parties. So you couldn't go in and look at the analysis done because everything was redacted. So how did we know, as a proposer in the second-ranked firm, that there was a true apples-to-apples comparison? We didn't. We did the best that we could to try to figure out back in, but we don't know that there's a true apples to apples comparison.
Neil, what was the outcome of the protest?
The outcome of the protest was it was denied, primarily because I think the end result being the awarding of the local preference points to the third-ranked firm wouldn't have changed the result, with United having, one more first place point than Cigna.
Thank you.
Ms. Kaufman?
I just wanted to point out to the board today that what is in front of you today is not to approve the 5-year contract with United, but to determine whether or not you're going to do the 1-year agreement with Cigna, and to instruct staff to move forward with the negotiations with United in good faith so that the contract would start January 1st if that's the direction the board chooses to take. We are not blindly entering into a contract. There will be good faith negotiations, and if the negotiations are unsuccessful, then we have to go from there. But we have the results of the RFP, and it is very important that we understand that the process of the RFP is in place for a reason, that there's an even and fair playing field for everybody in the county. And we went through that process, and there were other avenues available to the protester who chose not to take those avenues. And there has been more than one occasion where people have shown up here and asked the board to reconsider a decision. And we have the board has the decision-making ability, and the board determines whether or not, in these particular circumstances, what's right and fair and based on the evidence. So the fact that someone is unhappy that they're on the losing end and they are represented here is not a reason for the board to reconsider your good faith reasoning. And remember, the RFP process is a key, critical component to the integrity of this government.
And just to clarify, we do have adequate notice at this point, so if this board did make the decision to not give the 1-year extension, but to go with United on a 5-year.
Continue the process with United and instruct staff to start the transition and negotiate a contract and bring that contract back to you as soon as possible.
We're within our rights to do that.
Yes, absolutely.
Very good. All right, Commissioner Marino.
Thank you. I guess my question would be, if we do, in fact, start the negotiation with United Healthcare, which we should, my concern is that we have, 8,000 plus clients and don't really know about the doctors out of network. I just want assurances that come January 1st, all of these questions are answered, because we represent a lot of people, and we need to make sure that they're covered.
Understand fully and appreciate the question. And yes, you have our assurances that we will address all these questions. We will negotiate following today's meeting, and we will get the contract implemented, benefits standing up, employees enrolled before the first of the year.
Thank you.
Commissioner McKinley, you still want to ask?
Commissioner, I'm sorry. If I may, I just want to be very clear. I think Scott said it very well when he said that United may have the best of intentions, but there's the entire other side of it involving change management and appropriate implementation, and that's the great concern we have here. The issue isn't with United, it's about process and capabilities, and what we feel is real, because nothing would be more disappointing to this board if come January 1st, we had some members that thought they had coverages and protections that they ended up not having, because there's going to be a significant education process. So if you don't mind, I'd like to ask maybe Andrea can elaborate on some of the challenges, since she'll be the lead on this implementation and you can hear directly from her. Again, I think we just want you to hear everything before you make what I recognize is a very difficult decision.
Good morning. Thanks for an opportunity to chime in. Just like what we had talked about before, I've been processing change management of carriers multiple times in my career. I've worked in benefits for 25 years. There there is an issue on the staffing whereby a change of this magnitude, which is where our membership has been with one carrier for decades. The issue is that you would want to facilitate a rollout of that is deserving of that membership and gives them the opportunity and the resources to understand what the change in carrier is. I've administered United Healthcare before as a medical carrier. United Healthcare is fully equipped to offer benefits to our membership. The concern is that we would normally do an open enrollment announcement tomorrow. My first meeting is scheduled on October 18th. So given that I cannot go into meetings and ask individuals to make changes that are currently being configured in a test environment in PeopleSoft without the proper notice. What we'll probably have to do, there's a good chance we'll have to push open enrollment and also change the implementation in PeopleSoft. There will be disruption. It will be a bumpy ride. Employees will have concern, and I know United will work with us very closely on answering all those concerns, but in my career, for a membership of 9,000 individuals, to implement a carrier of this magnitude, it's our most important program, the medical program. We pay $74 million in claims under that program. It deserves more than a couple of weeks of implementation, because the implementation isn't really when it comes to Jan 1. The implementation is right now. Open enrollment, the planning for it, it starts weeks ago. It starts in August or earlier. So if we're pivoting right now, I don't have a contract with United. We have not negotiated the nitty-gritty, which is what membership is concerned about, that we need to have answers for and sufficient time to implement. I have not a single piece of collateral from United right now that I can put in front of my members, which I'm supposed to post tomorrow, explaining to them that on Jan 1st, we're having a different member other than the one we've had for decades. And just to speak, for our group, I'm fully supportive of United being the carrier. I think it's a good choice for the county, absolutely. However, where we were coming from is the logistics and the time management. We're talking about Jan 1, but the work right now that hasn't been started for United, it needed to start weeks ago. It'll be bumpy. There probably will be some voicing of, concerns and so forth. We can do it as a benefit professional, and I've done this many, many years. I've changed many carriers. The membership, I'm concerned about not giving them sufficient time and resources to do this properly. And I appreciate you letting me just chime in a little bit. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Commissioner McKinley, are you done?
No, I hadn't even started, so before I start, does anybody else want to interrupt me? So my question, Scott, and you said that the notice to award wasn't posted until August 10th. How long did that have to be posted before you could bring it to the board for approval?
So just to go over kind of a process timeline, the selection committee met twice. They met on August 1st and August 8th. The decision was made, and Mr. Schiller pointed out, there was opportunities for other stuff, but we didn't feel we needed it. The selection committee at the August 8th meeting made the decision that they had enough information to go ahead and make their decision. That decision was made, a recommendation was made to move forward on August 8th. 2 days later, the notice of intent was posted, so it was posted on August 10th.
Okay, but how long did that have to be posted before?
5 days, 5 business days. There was a 5 business day. Everything seems to follow the 5 business day rule. So there was 5 business days for any of the submitters to ask for basically a protest.
And that 5 business days took us to what date?
That took us to the August 17th. Because of weekends, once again. And then on August 17th, Cigna filed in accordance with the code, Palm Beach County Code, they filed a protest. It was deemed timely.
So assume or pretend that there were no protests filed. So on August 17th, that 5 days expires. the board is on recess. We don't have a board meeting until August 23rd. Having worked for Todd and run all of his agenda items through at the last minute, there is a process to get an item on the agenda. So what was the soonest you would have been able to get it on the agenda? Because I don't think we met until after Labor Day.
You're correct. I don't have the agendas with me, but it would have been probably the first one in September. But I think the important thing to note is, at least, our normal process would be, if there's no protest, we have to assume that the board is going to approve the selection committee's recommendation. So we would have started negotiating a contract, which would have been the next step before it comes to the board. So we would have had a contract to bring to the board. So we would have basically been in sometime in September, but our change management would have already started because there would have been no reason for it not to. In other words,
Okay, but you weren't guaranteed, so that, I think that first meeting in September was September 8th? Somebody have that date?
right, because of the protest.
No, because we don't meet the Monday after, or the Tuesday after Labor Day. Okay, so September 13th, it would have come to the board for approval, and you don't have any guarantee that the board would have approved it then. So it's only October 4th? So we're, what, 18th, like less than 3 weeks behind schedule? So you wouldn't have really been able to do all of your open enrollments and plan the rollout and any of that until after the contract was approved on September 13th. So we're 3 weeks behind, and 3 weeks is really making a make or break to being able to get this rolled out by January 1?
No, you're correct. I mean, I can't dispute that, but this is a little bit of a carrier. It isn't a little bit. It would be a carrier change, but we would have started some of the process behind the scenes. And without being clear on exactly who the carrier was because of the protest, we were delayed in making those decisions. And I think that's how we ended up having to pivot to almost a go or no-go date.
I get that. I mean, I'm comfortable going either way today, but we were painting this picture of, oh my God, the world's gonna fall apart, and we're talking about we're 3 weeks behind.
Right.
Just
No,
wanted to point that
To be
out.
very clear, Commissioner McKinley, we, and I apologize if we didn't make this clear. I think what we're trying to do is give the board the information they need to make the decision they believe is in the best interest of the county and its members. We will implement whatever is decided here today. We will.
Thank you.
County Administrator?
That's what I was going to say. If this board makes the determination to move forward with United Way, we will make it happen. We just simply wanted to make sure you were aware that it would not be our normal, smooth process, that it is going to be a bumpy ride. We will depend upon United to work with us to make sure that our employees understand what services are there, what doctors are there. I will also be pushing that they work with our employees with a means in which if their doctors, especially those with conditions, if their doctors are not a part of United Way, I'm going to be pushing that they consider opening up and having those doctors added to their policy or their program. And that's not unusual. That normally happens. Doctors go in and out of the carriers, and we work with them in order to make sure we've got adequate doctors supporting our employees. But if this board makes this decision, we'll make it happen. It just will not be as smooth as we normally have the process.
Thank you, Ms. Baker. Commissioner Bernard, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a question for United Health. If we decide to move forward, how quickly can negotiations take place between the county and United?
We are prepared to start negotiations immediately following this meeting. So you've got all the right people here to proceed with that conversation and to work through it so that way we can ratify a contract, get a contract settled.
Ms. Baker, how quickly would county staff be able to start negotiations with United?
Immediately, after this board makes the decision, after this board meeting, I'll clear my afternoon calendar, and so will staff. We'll sit down and start our negotiations.
Thank you very much.
Commissioner Sachs.
I really don't have a dog in this at all. I just am concerned about this. How many people are covered by the present insurance company today?
So when the RFP went out, we were closer to 9,000. We fluctuate between
I heard.
8,500 and 9,000.
9,000.
It probably 88 and change right
All right.
now. It vacillates back and forth.
My concern is this, and all of you who are involved in this insurance, is not notice, and I'm an attorney, I like notice. It's the individuals. We have about 9,000 individuals whose medical provisions or issues are going to be affected by the change that we make today. This is a significant change, highly significant. You represent a very fine insurance company. You've met all the qualifications. Cigna has too. My concern is that until I'm satisfied that there will not be a disruption or a bumpy ride for 9,000 people, persons, elderly, children, when it comes to the choice of doctors, when it comes to the choice of medical providers, hospitals, when it comes to their choice of prescriptions. See, I represent people. And I got to go back to my people and say whether or not they're going to be well represented. 9,000 employees of this county is significant. It's a significant vote that we take today. And have not yet been convinced of the compelling reason. If you could tell me, anybody here could tell me, what is the compelling reason that we're going to skip over what our county attorney said, which is one of the processes of our government, to make this change today so that staff is going to have to work very quickly and very hard to make sure it's not too disruptive or too bumpy, then I'll be convinced.
Yeah.
I really don't care what names. You're both very fine insurance companies. You're nationally recognized. I just have not heard a compelling reason to make this change today rather than in a couple of weeks. And I need to hear that because, one, we're going to have to work very, very hard to make these changes, start the negotiations today. Secondly, I've got to make sure that all the 9,000 persons who are going to be affected by this change will be affected to their betterment and not to their detriment. So when I hear that, I'll feel a lot better about the vote. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Commissioner Sachs. Scott, obviously you found United to be the preferred provider of the three that we were discussing.
Correct.
What made United come out on top?
So there were quite a few. There was more transparency in their pricing. Some of the fees that Cigna has are capitated, meaning we pay per employee per month without really being able to see, in essence, like in a fee for service. We know that if Scott goes to the doctor for XYZ, we can look at that and they can run reports and show that. Where in a capitated model, you have a situation where the entire base, the entire employee base, for example, gets billed a certain dollar amount per month. Behavioral is a perfect example. We get billed based on the amount of employees that are basically in the program at a per employee per month rate, but we don't know what our usage is. And one of the things that I've always struggled with is because we have an internal EAP, maybe we don't use behavioral as much as, another client would. So some of the transparency was different. And we were able to kind of whittle down and look at some cost savings. It was in a couple $1 million, that we could see that would certainly help us. One of the other things it did, quite honestly, was, Andrea, in my opinion, is the best in the business. But as I mentioned, we have 4 people. They said that they would give us an additional staff member to be able to implement some of the things that we thought were important. And in addition, before we went, we basically met with every carrier before we went under a cone of silence, before the RFP was issued. And one of the things that's been near and dear, and I think many of you on the board share this, and I've listened and they listened, we struggle, behavioral health is a big deal for us. I just mentioned it with the capitation. They're going to give us an additional staff member for our EAP division, which should help us in a lot of different areas as well as we try to, do different things. So their model, was a little bit different. Because they were more of a fee for service than a capitation model, we had a little more transparency, which meant that we knew exactly what we were paying for services. So I think those are just some of the things, highlights. Andrea, I don't know if you have anything else that really stuck out.
Before Andrea starts, Mr.
Sure.
Mayor, can I ask, we have a lot of people in the audience. We have a very, very short special presentation list. These folks have sat here for an hour already. Can we table this conversation, go through those special presentations,
If
and
it's
let
the
those
will
folks
of my
get back to
colleagues,
work? Table.
We'll table this, we'll come back to it, we'll do our proclamations, we have 7 of them, and then we'll return to this discussion. Thank you very much. All right, thank you. It's a great suggestion, Commissioner McKinley. I know a lot of you are sitting there, would like to go home or go to work, or go to the doctor's. Exactly. All right, so we're going to go to special presentations now. I'm going to ask my colleagues to line up. District 6 to my left, and I will move to the right with District 4, and behind me should be District 2.
If I could please invite Mavette Hernandez Lorenzo, Carmen Bostrom, and Barbara Hernandez to the podium. Good morning. Thank you for your patience this morning. You're seeing how the sausage is made. So good morning. I am declaring October 2nd through the 8th of 2022 is National 4-H Week. Whereas October 2nd through the 8th, 2022 is National 4-H Week in the United States. In partnership with Palm Beach County, the Florida Cooperative Extension Service conducts 4-H programs through the state's land-grant university, the University of Florida, and also Florida A&M University. That was inadvertently left off this proclamation. My apologies to FAMU. Whereas 4-H is the nation's largest youth development and empowerment organization and reaches more than 6 million young people, with more than 25,000 youth ages 5 through 18 participating in Palm Beach County. Whereas youth in 4-H develop life skills alongside adult mentors through hands-on learning, service learning, competitive events, and leadership programs in the areas of science, technology, healthy living, and citizenship. Contributing to their development as responsible, productive citizens. And whereas 4-H is committed to inclusion, diversity, equity, and access for all youth and brings opportunities and empowerment to children from all backgrounds, Palm Beach County 4-H youth take on critical issues such as addressing community health inequities, engaging in civil discourse, and advocating for equity and inclusion for all. 4-H believes in young people and their strengths and influence to improve the world around us. To encourage the discovery of 4-H opportunities for youth and adults, Palm Beach County 4-H is hosting a Youth Science Day Tomatosphere event on tomorrow, October 5th, 2022, a Trunk or Treat 4-H open house on Saturday, October 29th. The Tomatosphere and Trunk or Treat events are free and materials will be provided. These events are designed to encourage youth and adults to engage in hands-on activities as a family and spend time away from the computer and other media screens to play, learn, and grow in 4-H together. Now therefore be it proclaimed by the Board of County Commissioners today, assembled in regular session, that October 2nd through the 8th in our county is National 4-H Week. And if you've never been out to see their events at the South Florida Fair, I'd certainly encourage you to do that. And I'm not sure who's speaking, but the microphone is yours.
Thank you, Commissioner McKinley. Commissioners, Mayor Winworth, we appreciate the time and the support of Palm Beach County 4-H and for the declaration of our National 4-H Week. We are proud to support the youth through our hands-on learning programs, and we continue to appreciate the support of the commissioners and the board, and we thank you, Commissioner McKinley, for the proclamation.
Those of you who've been sitting here witnessing us, watching us make the sausage, this is the way government works, so you got a little lesson in civics today. All right, I have a proclamation that I'm going to ask Valerie Nielsen, our TPA Executive Director, Brian Rusher, our TPA Deputy Multimodal, and Clinton Forbes, our Executive Director of PalmTran, to come on up. Hello. We'll let you go back to work pretty soon. All right. I am here to declare October 21st through 28th as Mobility Week. Whereas Mobility Week is a cooperative effort by the Palm Beach Transportation Planning Agency, the Florida Department of Transportation, Palm Beach County, and their partner agencies to promote awareness of safe, multimodal transportation choices by hosting an annual collection of outreach events. And whereas Mobility Week is an ideal time for counties, cities, and transportation agencies to highlight achievements, introduce new initiatives, and implement new policies promoting sustainable transportation. And whereas Mobility Week is an opportunity for individuals to explore various transportation choices and consider how multimodal transportation reduces traffic congestion, benefits the environment, and improves community health. And whereas the PalmTran public transportation provides 25,000 rides a day, and everyone can ride free for a day during Mobility Week using the promo code MOBILITY in their Paradise Pass app. We'll let you talk a little bit about that also, Mr. Forbes. And whereas Mobility Week is consistent with the Palm Beach TPA's vision to create a safe and efficient connected multimodal transportation system, and whereas Mobility Week is supported by the Palm Beach TPA through participation in transportation-focused events throughout the county and its municipalities. Now, therefore, this Board of County Commissioners assembled today is declaring October 21st through 28th Mobility Week. Executive Director Nielsen, would you like to say a few words?
Sure. Good morning, everyone, and thank you so much. I commend the county for joining the state of Florida in celebrating Mobility Week and promoting trying other options of transportation as well as raising awareness for these options. We look forward to continuing our partnership with the county, with PalmTran, Tri-Rail, and all of our mobility option providers. We're excited for Mobility Week. We'll be having some activities going on, partnering with PalmTran and the county, where we'll hear from David Ricks also on an exciting announcement of a TPA-funded project as well. So we're very excited, and we look forward to continuing to raise awareness and encourage other modes of transportation. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you, Valerie. I'll get to Mr. Ricks in a second. Clinton, would you like to say a few words about PalmTran?
Thank you, Mayor, members of the board. What a great week to try transit. And so we are encouraging all of you and the public to download our Paradise Pass app at palmtran.org and type in the code word mobility, and you'll be able to ride fare free that week. And so what a great time to try transit. PalmTran is a proud partner in mobility, for the county. And so, it's your system, so use it. Thank you.
David Ricks is our county engineer. Mr. Ricks.
Thank you, members of the board. This is definitely a great opportunity. Just want to announce that the board passed a contract last board session, our first buffer bike lane for the county. We're planning to have a groundbreaking sometime in the month of October. It's a $5.9 million project with assistance from the TPA of $4.2 million to assist with this project. And so once we get the information, that we'll inform the public on that. But thank you, members of the board, and also TPA for providing assistance with that grant. Thank you.
Thank you. Could I ask Ms. Tanya Davis-Johnson and members of the Business Matchmaker Conference to join me here at this lectern? Don't be afraid, I don't bite. You can come on down. At least last time I checked. Good morning. Hi. Good morning. I have the great pleasure of presenting this proclamation declaring October 27th as Palm Beach Partners Business Matchmaker Conference and Expose in Palm Beach County. And whereas the Business Matchmaker Day will be acknowledged and celebrated on Thursday, October 27th, 2022, during the 16th Annual Palm Beach Partners Business Matchmaker Conference and Expo, and whereas Palm Beach Partners is a coalition of city, county, state, and nonprofit organizations aligned to promote economic development of small businesses through bid and contracting opportunities throughout Palm Beach County. And whereas the partners include leading public and nonprofit agencies, including the Palm Beach County Board of County Commissioners, the cities of Riviera Beach and West Palm Beach, the South Florida Water Management District, School District of Palm Beach County Office of Equal Business Opportunity, the Palm Beach International Airport, Palm Tran, Center for Technology and Enterprise Development, and the Solid Waste Authority. And whereas small, minority, women-owned, and disadvantaged enterprises represent a wide variety of disciplines, and each is granted an equal opportunity to meet with decision makers and to network with other businesses in attendance during the Matchmaker Conference Expo. And whereas the Palm Beach County Board of County Commissioners is pleased to join in celebrating this distinct business empowerment forum for small, minority, and women-owned and disadvantaged enterprises. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed by the Board of County Commissioners of Palm Beach County, Florida, assembled in regular session today, that October 27th, 2022, in Palm Beach County is hereby proclaimed Palm Beach Partners Business Matchmaker Conference and Expo Day. And Ms. Johnson.
Thank you. Good morning. I'd first like to thank the Board of County Commissioners for their continued support of the Palm Beach Partners Business Matchmaker Conference and Expo. Joining me today is Mr. Frank Hayden, my counterpart at the City of West Palm Beach, and Mr. Sebron Smith, Center for Technology and Enterprise and Development. We are honored to be able to present the 16th Annual Business Matchmaker Conference and Expo. And oh, I'm sorry. My administrator, Dorrit Miller. Whoops. We are honored to be able to come back in person to present the Matchmaker Conference and Expo. Each of you have received an invitation to lunch. I know that's a zoning day, but you have been invited to join us for lunch. But more importantly, I want to just say thank you to the vision of Virginia C. Baker, our beloved Hazel Oxendine, who you all know passed in 2010, and Dr. Otia DuBois. It was their vision to bring this event to the public, to the small businesses, to give them an opportunity to meet with key decision makers from the various agencies that are represented by the partners. So for those of you out in Channel 20 land, please join us on October 27th at the Palm Beach County Convention Center. We'll be there from 8 until 5 with workshops, networking, and a reception. Thank you so much again for your continued support, Board. Thank you, Virginia, for joining us.
All right, good morning, everybody. I'd like to call up Scotty, and if Scotty could bring up with him Heather Smith, who's our volunteer dog handler, Dr. Kathleen Woody, the new Chief and Veterinary Services for Palm Beach County Animal Care and Control, Janet Steele, who is our Palm Beach County Animal Control Division Director, and Stephanie Sanjoa, hopefully I said that right, who's our Public Safety Director. All right, Scotty, this is your day. And by the way, Scotty is available to a very good family if anybody is interested. And he's been very good during this meeting. He's actually been better than some of us on the other side there. But let's just go and move forward here. This is all about Scotty and all the other dogs and cats who are available for adoption. October 4th is World Animal Day, and it's celebrated around the world to recognize the positive impact animals have on people's lives. The purpose of this month is to acknowledge that there are many homeless or abused dogs in need of fresh starts in human friends. And according to the American Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals, there are approximately 3.1 million dogs that enter animal shelters nationwide every year. Adopting a shelter dog saves 2 lives. The shelter dog, I say 3, the shelter dog and an incoming dog needing shelter, and somebody at home who desperately needs a wonderful friend and companion. In the last year, almost 5,000 dogs entered the Palm Beach County Animal Care and Control Shelter. So whereas during October, in recognition of Adopt a Shelter Dog Month, Palm Beach County Animal Care and Control is offering Name Your Price adoptions. And whereas you can pick out a dog from the county shelter, visit Animal Care and Control, or look at the pictures on the website about a dog. So therefore, be it proclaimed by the Board of County Commissioners of Palm Beach County, Florida, assembled in regular session this 4th day of October 2022, that October 2022 in Palm Beach County is hereby proclaimed National Adopt a Shelter Dog Month. Congratulations. Congratulations, all of you. So,
Thank you, Commissioner Sachs, and thank you to all the members of the board for your support and recognizing our shelter dogs, and also for your support and just the services that we provide here in Palm Beach County for not only our animals, but our public, and to ensure their safety. Today is really important that we recognize our shelter dogs. Like Commissioner Sachs mentioned in the proclamation, you're saving not only the life of the dog that you adopted, but also the life of a dog that needs shelter. So we did bring Scotty here today. He is excited and ready to be adopted. He's been at our shelter for about 6 weeks. And we also have our volunteer here. She's a seasoned volunteer, Heather Smith. What we do in animal care could not be done without our volunteers. So I wanted to just take a moment to recognize our volunteers. And I'd like to turn it over to Jan Steele, who's not our new director. She's been here just a little over a year at Animal Care and Control. She's been a great asset to our team. And just a little small note, it's her birthday today, but she'd like to say a few words.
Thank you, Commissioners and Stephanie. I also would like to acknowledge one of our rescue partners who's standing in for many of our rescue partners who help us tremendously throughout the year. This is Susie Goldsmith from Tri-County. We have a lot of wonderful relationships. We could not do that without the help of the County Commission, our rescue partners, our volunteers. This is truly a community effort. We have 171 dogs right now and 169 cats ready to go. So if anybody wants a pet, this is your month, but especially our shelter dogs. We really need some help. And thank you very much, Commissioner Sachs, for bringing this up. Thank you.
thank you. I have a couple of shelter dogs at home already, and but Scotty sure kind of took my heart away. They say to every pot, never share a stage with a dog, because you'll, right, Susie? All right, let's get these pictures here.
everybody, as you can tell. So somebody's looking for a wonderful dog.
It's really hard to follow. It's an honor today to present this proclamation recognizing the 111th National Day of the Republic of China, Taiwan. I would like to call Director Chi and Division Director Chan to please come forward. This proclamation declaring October 10th, 2022 as the 111th National Day of the Republic of China, Taiwan. Whereas the U.S. and Taiwan have maintained close friendship based on the 1979 Taiwan Relations Act, Public Law 96-8, 96 Congress, the cornerstone of the U.S.-Taiwan ties, which celebrates its 43rd anniversary in 2022. And whereas Taiwan is the United States' 8th largest trading partner, 11th largest export market, and 8th largest import market, with two-way trade totaling $114 billion in 2021. Taiwan is also Florida's 7th largest market in Asia as of 2021. And whereas the U.S. and Taiwan will conduct formal negotiations under the U.S.-Taiwan Initiatives on the 21st Century Trade, introduced on June 1st, 2022, to bolster economic and trade relations between the two nations and foster a more resilient, just, and flourishing economy for the 21st century. And whereas a bipartisan group of U.S. senators and U.S. Congress members joined together in the signing of letters addressed to the Secretary of the U.S. Department of Commerce, the Office of the U.S. Trade Representatives, and the President of the United States in support of Taiwan joining the Indo-Pacific Economic Framework for Prosperity, IPEF, launched in 2022. Taiwan's inclusion in the IPEF would further promote freedom and openness in the Indo-Pacific, as well as increase the framework's effectiveness in determining the trade and economic structure of the region and the world. And whereas Taiwan's meaningful participation in numerous international organizations, including the International Civil Aviation Organization, World Health Organization, United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, and International Criminal Police Organization, would benefit regional development, peace, and prosperity. And whereas since the establishment of the Taipei Economic and Cultural Office in Miami in 1988, Taiwan has developed sister state, sister city relations with Florida consistent with Taiwan's mission of economic liberalization, democratization, and significant international participation. Now therefore be it proclaimed by the Board of County Commissioners of Palm Beach County, Florida, assembled in regular session this 4th day of October 2022, that October 10th, 2022 in Palm Beach County is hereby proclaimed the 111th National Day of the Republic of China, Taiwan. Congratulations.
Thank you, Commissioner Bernard, Mayor, and board members of the Palm Beach County. It is my honor and privilege to be here receiving the proclamation from Palm Beach County. Taiwan is a peace-loving country. We share with the United States such common values of freedom, democracy, and human rights. On behalf of the people and the government of Taiwan, I would like to express my sincere gratitude for your continued support and friendship, and I wish you all the best. Thank you.
Okay, moving right along, I'd like to call up at this time President Lori Vinegar, who's president of one of the largest community associations in the county. I'd like to call up Edmondo Catania, and his wife Angelis, president of the Sons of Italy in America. This is the organization that represents 17 million Americans who have Italian heritage, the largest and oldest national organization for men and women of Italian heritage. I'd also like to call up Frank Leroy, District Governor of the chapter of Unico, and as Madeline Leroy is also here, past president of Unico, and if Cleveland Guy, the current Secretary Treasurer of that chapter, is here, he could also come up. I would also like to call up Robert J. DeAngelis, who's the director of Il Circolo Florida, which is a tremendous supporter of Italian heritage and language at Florida Atlantic University's students, and which gives many, many scholarships to children of Italian heritage. It is very proud for me to give this proclamation, mostly because I am also of Italian heritage, and I did the same thing in the Florida State Senate in perpetuity, and now I have an opportunity to do this also in Palm Beach County. And that is what? To declare October 2022 as Italian American Heritage Month. Whereas Italian and Italian American Heritage Month is an appropriate time to recognize the enormous contributions that the Italian and Italian American people have made to this country and the world throughout our history as generals, admirals, philosophers, statesmen, musicians, athletes, and Nobel Prize winning scientists, as well as a couple of politicians here and there. Whereas Italian and Italian American Heritage Month is held to salute the Italian and Italian American community and to exhibit appreciation for the culture and heritage that have immeasurably enriched the lives of the people of this nation and of this state and county. And whereas the strength and success of the United States, the vitality of our communities, and the effectiveness of our American society depend, in great measure, upon the distinctive and sterling qualities demonstrated by our various ethnic groups, exemplified by members of the Italian and Italian American community. Whereas it is fitting that in recognition of the enormous contributions that Italian and Italian American people have made to this county, to this state, to this wonderful country, and the world throughout our history, that this board urges the people of Palm Beach County to acknowledge October 2022 as Italian and Italian American Heritage Month in Palm Beach County and to observe the month with appropriate events and activities. Therefore, be it proclaimed by the Board of County Commissioners of Palm Beach County, Florida, assembled in regular session this 4th day of October, that October 2022 in Palm Beach County is hereby proclaimed Italian American Heritage Month. Congratulations. We'll be sending this all to you.
Okay, we're going to get back to business. Scott, would you bring your minions back? Okay, before you resume your presentation, I understand that a representative of the union representing our Palm Tran would like to have an opportunity to speak. Dwight, are you around? There he is. Yeah, come on this side. Dwight, I'll ask you to fill out a card after you speak. Thank you. Please.
Good morning, Commissioners and Madam Administrator. I have sat here and listened.
Just introduce yourself for the clerk.
Dwight Mattingly. I represent the Palm Tran ATU bargaining unit, and there's about 600 employees at Palm Tran that are all under the county insurance plan. And we have serious concerns about switching over at this late date in the game for the employees to have the opportunity to see what they are getting. This process should have finished early so that they would have had information in their hands right now, because they're making major decisions. And some of the things that we know about is that every approval that you have to do outside of your doctor has to be approved by the insurance plan. We don't know what will happen with some of those approvals that are in process. But besides that, we don't even know whether or not the doctor that you currently have will be able to be carried over. And so to do this late in the game without having the information, I think your staff, Scott Marting and his staff, have made an excellent choice in giving an extension. And so we would support that, doing that for the sake of the employees that are covered under this plan. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mattingly. Ms. Baker?
Just for clarification, doctors go in and out of groups depending on their choice, no matter what group you're with. So we will continue to work, and I don't believe that we would have had any paper in hand today if we had gone with United. We would have had more information, but we would not probably have disseminated that information until we do open enrollment. That is when we actually disseminate that information. So that information would not have been disseminated by this time. I just want clarification so that we are all singing from the same page and we know what the factual information happens to be.
And Ms. Baker, I'm just going to ask you to, again, reiterate that you believe that notwithstanding the pressure that this would put on staff, that you are capable, if this board sees fit to award the or not take the one-year extension, but to direct you to get the contract signed with United, that could be done and there would not be a disruption in the services to our employees?
I cannot sit here and point blank tell you that with 100% certainty.
Okay.
However, I do believe that United is here, and they have said on the record that this negotiation should be a very minimal negotiation because they've agreed to all of the elements within the RFP. So we're not going to renegotiate what they have already agreed to. We will negotiate further for the benefits of our employees, and we want to make sure that they are open to adding more doctors, especially for our employees with pre-existing conditions. That is what I will be discussing later today with their representative. However, my legal department doing exactly what they're supposed to. They did inform me, because this is not a sole negotiator contract, that we have to give notice. So we're going to give a 24-hour notice before negotiations begin, because negotiations have to be in the sunshine. Do you guys want to add anything to that?
You said it perfectly.
Okay. Further, we will work with our staff as long as we can move forward with United and the clerk of court's office is working with us. We will bring in the appropriate staff to help Risk work through this process, and we'll get it done if that's the board's direction.
Thank you.
Mr.
And
Mayor?
this is not an indemnity contract. We have a lot more say in the panel of doctors than we would if this was just a straight indemnity. I don't know who I should be addressing this to United or to...
I can answer, and then certainly United can chime in. So we have an administrative services only agreement. And basically what that does is it allows us to use United or Cigna's network, and then they act as our fiduciary. They manage the claims. They do all that process for us. So, there are limitations. I mean, it's not an indemnity, you're correct, but certainly I know United might want to add some comments to that, but certainly they're in charge of their network. We obviously, if we have employees that have a particular doctor, and for example, they're very happy with that doctor, but for one reason or another, they're not in Cigna's network or United Healthcare's network, then certainly we will work with United's team to try to add that person. So I don't know.
Can United commit to doing something to bridge for our patients or our employees who are patients of doctors outside of your network to bring them in at least for those employees?
Yes, we are committed to doing that. I wanted to address a couple of comments because, if I might.
Absolutely, you're recognized.
So, thank you so much, Mr. Mayor. So we are here to serve at the pleasure of the board and appreciate all the conversation today. I want to assure you that should the board decide to move forward with United Healthcare, we are here to meet with the county administrator and staff. I think Cigna's representative made a good point that they negotiated a contract, I think I noted, within 5 hours. Based upon the RFP process, we met all the elements of the RFP, which is how we prevailed. And I believe that our conversation and negotiations with county administrator and staff would take far less time because we've already met those contracts. I also want to assure staff, because I hear very clearly, change is hard. There's concerns about that. We want to be walking hand in hand with staff on education, on open enrollment, and making sure, and we are very committed to making sure that this goes very smoothly. We will be here every day. We will support open enrollment. We will handle the education. We will have electronic and paper enrollment materials. Like whatever is needed and asked of us, we are here to do that. We have a proven track record. Actually, if you were to talk to some individuals in Broward County government in 2017, we were very fortunate to be awarded their business. And within 30 days of the effective date, I want to say that we were awarded the contract sometime at the end of November, then you consider the holidays. We got their benefit plan up and running inside of 30 days. ID cards in hand before the effective date of 1/1/2017. And they've been a customer for over 5 years. We just got an extended contract. We prevailed and won their bid again. And that is based upon the commitment that we made to them at that time about network, about education, about service, about adding resources. We worked very hard during this RFP process. We listened, and I think that point was also made today, that we heard the concerns of staff, that we went around and really tried to understand what the needs and the desires and the goals of the county were. And those elements are all reflected in our contract. Adding support staff for staff, adding an EAP counselor for all of the members. I mean, these are the things that we put forward that we thought were innovative and unique, and services, frankly, that were missing from the current contract. And as a result of that, we prevailed during the scoring. I also want to assure the commission that that the benefits itself, I know that there is concern about network, and I've shared with you that on Thursday that we will be meeting with Broward County Health. We are very confident that we will walk out of that with a contract in the facilities as well as the providers will be back in network. But when you think, it probably makes sense for me to talk a little bit about the benefits that we put into our proposal. So today, the current carrier, Cigna, has a plan in place that's called the Cigna Local Plus, which is a plan that is in-network benefits only, meaning that members can only access providers in Florida that are contracted for that specific benefit. We actually put forth enriched benefits and a broader network access. So that way, all of the employees, covered dependents, members, family members, et cetera, would be covered under national networks, which is the broadest network that we have available. So we've actually enhanced it. So when we talk about, I think the question was, there was a question at the beginning. I've gone off here for a little bit. The question was asked about whether or not we would work with the county to make sure that individuals had access to providers that they desired to see. The answer to that question is yes. I will also go on to say that because, and I believe Mr. Marting made this point, you are a self-funded plan, you get to make decisions about what is covered and what is not. We can work within those bounds as well, meaning that if there's a provider that you want us to have in network, we can work specifically with staff.
Thank you. Scott, just a question, and this has been my own problem with the current plan, that you have to go to the PCP to get a referral every time you're going to go see a specialist. Is that our requirement, or was that Cigna's requirement?
So that's a great question. Depends on what plan you choose in our current setup. You know, we have an open access plan where you don't need a referral to go see a specialist. The reason we kept that, what we'll call a gatekeeper model in place, was we talked with our actuaries ran the numbers, and we found that by doing that process, there were many people that were actually able to be treated at the primary care physician level and never needed to see a specialist. So it was a cost savings. But certainly, you know, we've asked that the current plan that we have is modeled in the new plan. And I don't want to lose sight of something, because I think it's very important here. Nobody's disputing, we chose United Healthcare by the selection committee. This was a timing issue. The only reason we're sitting here is because of a timing issue. We are not doubting United Healthcare's ability to service our members. We know that they can do a fantastic job. The selection committee made that very clear in their recommendation. So I don't want the board to come away thinking that this is a situation where we're trying to not have United Healthcare as our vendor, because that is simply not the case. It never was the case. We're excited about the opportunity to work with them. Once again, the reason it got to the point where it was and why we're sitting here right now is purely a timing issue.
Very good, thank you.
If one other thing, I'm sorry, because I forgot to mention this, and Andrea whispered it in my ear. There, you know, for care, for people that are in, for example, their third trimester of pregnancy or undergoing cancer care or things like that, there's a transition of care. There's a plan in place for those types of things. So, you know, it's not as though from that standpoint, you know, we will work with, you know, if the board decides that we will be moving forward with United Healthcare, certainly I have no doubt in my mind that we would be able to work through that process. And certainly, obviously, if the board decides that we stay with Cigna for another year, at some point we're going to have to cross that bridge.
Right.
And we have a plan in place to do that.
So someone has an oncologist, even if they're not in this plan, they'll be able to continue?
Correct.
Okay, very good. Vice Mayor?
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Mr. Marting, for addressing that, because that is really one of the key issues, is what's going to happen with continuing care for people that are already in treatment. That, I mean, many people are dealing with very difficult situations personally, and to heap something else on top of them that would require them to have to jump through hoops, or that to me is not acceptable. And I don't think to anybody on this board, that we want to make sure that people that are dealing with their health issues continue to be able to get the support and care that they need without having to worry about, you know, paperwork, insurance, any of that. I mean, that's the last thing in the world they need. So I want to ask United, your willingness to add additional resources. I mean, I've heard from Mr. Marting, they've got 4 people to deal with this. What is your ability to commit to this board today to provide additional resources for them?
So that was included in the RFP bid response. So we have committed to adding staff for the staff itself, and then we've committed to adding an actual EAP counselor.
So in terms of additional staff, though, for this changeover and this compressed time frame?
Okay, I'm sorry, I didn't
That's
understand
okay.
the question. So we actually have a full implementation team, a team of professionals that does this every single day, of customers of all sizes. So they will be working behind the scenes, getting the benefits stood up. We also are a local provider, a local healthcare carrier. We have a staff in Miramar, some people who live in Palm Beach County, and we will be here through that transition. And following the open enrollment schedule that has been determined by staff, and if it needs to be enhanced because of a shortened time frame, we will be here, whatever is needed to talk to staff members. We also staff the telephone, so there's a wide variety of services and dedicated staff that we have for this opportunity.
And then to staff, when was open enrollment supposed to happen?
Open enrollment, the first meeting is scheduled for 10/18. I think that we're going to have to go back and discuss that a little bit, and kind of see where we land. I did want to mention that, in reference to your question about staffing, they've submitted a proposal, and that proposal obviously is what we'll be negotiating tomorrow. But I will be negotiating tomorrow. And we'll kind of make a note of that certainly, we know where we are right now, but we will be negotiating tomorrow.
So so right now, people wouldn't have an opportunity to make it, would not be normally going through open enrollment until the 18th. It's 2 weeks away.
So the meeting is on the first meeting is on the 18th. I believe the day that we were scheduled to open the My Benefits is the 25th. Of October. We have to go back and look at those dates, obviously, depending on what the board's decision is for us today. And then we'll move forward and plan accordingly. And certainly part of that will be some meetings, that we'll have to have with United about, how the process is going to work. I mean, certainly there'll be a lot of things that are going to come to fruition, are going to become much clearer after the board's decision today. But our goal is, what I've always said to everybody is the bottom line is 1/1/2023. We have to have coverage for our employees, and we will. We just figure out how to do it.
And when would open enrollment close?
So those dates are going to fluctuate a little bit. As it was right now, I think it was scheduled to close on the 8th of November. And obviously if we can keep those dates, that would be amazing. But I think we need to go back, based on whatever direction we get from the board today and see what that looks like.
So if I'm doing this right, so normally you would have about, 2 weeks?
Yes, so the process, the way it would work is on the 8th, the system closes. And then, there's a process that everything goes through, and then statements are sent out to each individual employee. Paper statements are mailed to you, and then you look at that and make sure it's what you signed up for. And if it isn't what you signed up for, or you all of a sudden have a change of heart about your FSA, or maybe you want to add, something you didn't have, then you have to submit that back in, and I don't remember exactly what the date is for that. Okay, December 16th, and then we make those changes, and then we go live. So
you're really looking at mid-December as sort of your sort of, I don't want to use the word drop dead when we're talking about healthcare, but.
It's a simple button, but I'm having issues. Sorry about that. Typically, we would want to interface a file which comes out of PeopleSoft, and that's information that's channeled into that interface file through My Benefits selection, and we would interface that file. In this case, it would be to United at the beginning of December, preferably, to make sure everybody has their cards in hand. When you're switching a carrier, you just really you try to do it very early in December, and I'm sure that United is very, well-versed in getting those cards out.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner McKinley?
Thanks, Mayor. I promise this is the last comment I'll make on this subject matter. Scott and Andrea, first let me say, for the last 12 years that I've been with Palm Beach County, your office is phenomenal. You guys have been such a huge assistance to me and to my family and my staff. And I know we're not discussing the dental benefits, but just need to shout out to Laura Wicks, who is my personal hero now in your office. Because this is the last chance I'll have to be able to make this request, and it won't benefit me because I won't be here, and my kids, we won't be on this plan. But for those coming up behind me with children that will eventually be rolling into our state university system, like perhaps Commissioner Bernard, it has continued to frustrate me since 2016 when the first one left for college, that the student health centers are not on the insurance plan. And when a kid is enrolled in a state university, that is their medical home for 4 years. So now my Tallahassee kids, the only option that they've had is either the emergency room or 5-minute clinics at CVS when they have a beautiful, fully staffed, full-service student health center on campus. So in the process of negotiations, this is my one parting wish, is that in the contract negotiations, we maybe include that as an item for discussion. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Commissioner McKinley. Commissioner Marino?
Well, I think we've asked and answered a whole lot of questions today, and I am comfortable making a motion that we execute the contract with United Healthcare as soon as possible so that we can get this done. So I probably didn't word that correctly, so someone can help me with the
I'm
wording?
going to look to our attorney to help us, since we really can't execute a contract that's not in front of us yet.
Well, yeah, the first thing that you have to deal with is the proposed one-year extension of the Cigna contract that was pulled from consent. So let's deal with that. And then the board could give staff instructions to bring back the negotiated contract with United Healthcare at the first available meeting.
All right, so I think your motion is not to approve.
Correct.
The item that's before us, which is item 3B3. Do I have a second? I have a second by Commissioner Bernard. We're going to have continuing conversation on this. I see that I have Commissioner Kerner's light on.
Thank you, Mayor, and I'm sensing that I'm in the minority here, and that's fine, but I think Commissioner Sachs hit it on the head, and what we do know is that there's a potential for significant disruption and a bumpy ride. Those were terms that came from our professional staff. Our county administrator could not guarantee that it would be a smooth transition. It turns out that the 3-week delay was impactful. I don't begrudge Cigna for utilizing their rights given under the code and by the board to make a protest. They should not be begrudged for that. I want to congratulate United Health for being ranked first. I'm looking very much forward to having a new provider, and my intent is to vote for United Healthcare when this item, should this item come back for final approval. But I do think it's important that we embrace the 1-year contract with Cigna and make sure that we have stability in our provision of healthcare services for our nearly 9,000 members. I haven't seen a compelling reason to not do that, and we don't have a negotiated product before this board. And the only thing that we'll be doing today is entering a land of instability and uncertainty about what provisions we can offer almost 9,000 people. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Kerner. And I'm going to ask a question again to our representative from United. Tell us a little bit about this Broward transition that you went through. What were the dates that you were dealing with? When did you start the process? And were you successful in completing the process before the first of the next year?
I'll start with the last question. Yes, we were successful in standing up their benefits inside of 30 days, so that way ID cards were in hand before the first of the year, and that was January 1st, 2017. Asking me for some specific dates, it is a little bit fuzzy, but we went through a similar RFP process, and we were ranked actually second in that process, and we did not file a protest. We sort of let things happen as they were. The winning carrier, who happened to be the incumbent, had some unexpected and undisclosed network disruption that happened after that contract was finalized, or after the RFP was finalized. And the county decided to move to number 2, which was United Healthcare. And they came to us and said, "Are you ready to negotiate? And are you ready to implement?" And we said, yes, we are. We negotiated. And it was less than 30 days from the time that we had that. I don't have the specific dates. What I do recall specifically is that ID cards were in hand before the first of the year, and that we had done all the files, we had done all the open enrollment, similar to the contract that we put forward here, the proposal we put forward here. We were hiring staff to support their human resources team and all their employees, and we were hiring wellness staff. So it's not dissimilar in that way. But we, Honestly, I just don't know the exact dates, but it was
But
definitely a 30-day period.
It was later than we are at this point today.
Absolutely, yes. It was not October. It was easily the middle of November.
Okay, very good. Commissioner Sacks, when you return to your seat, you have your light on?
Yes, Mayor.
Get back to your seat.
Yes, sir.
Put your microphone on.
May I speak now?
You may speak.
Thank you. I checked with the county attorney because I really, I spent the last 2 days in Tampa at a cancer center for my daughter. This is awfully fresh for me. It's all new. I've had United Healthcare. You guys are very, very good. I've had Cigna. You're very, very good. I just don't know. I feel a little uncomfortable not having a compelling reason to do it now without at least a couple of weeks or maybe 2-3 weeks to take a review of it again. I'm not prepared today to make this decision. I was prepared today to talk about the year. I mean, we could do less than a year, but I feel uncomfortable because I'm dealing with not just my daughter, but I'm dealing with 9,000 people. And what if somebody says to me, I can't get my doctor again, or Sachs, you didn't find out that I can't do my same primary. I've got to wait 2 weeks, or
Right.
So I just need, is it possible that we could have to the end of the month or something like that, so I can have a little more due diligence before I make this decision on behalf of the county?
Okay.
Scott?
So you've asked the question. With all due respect, I'll answer the question. We basically have brought an emergency request to you because we feel like we're out of time. So to add more time to that.
Why are we out of time? I don't understand.
Because of open enrollment and the process that takes place to ensure that whomever the carrier is that's chosen by the board, we have to do open enrollment. It has to happen. It's required on an annual
Aye.
basis. Well, the open enrollment, as we've talked about, starts on October 18th.
So it starts on October 18th.
Ends on 11/8 is when all the selections have to be in. But it's important to note that we would be too late in the game, I guess is the answer, for all of a sudden to add an additional couple weeks. For example, if you wanted until the 18th of October, which is the next meeting, to think about things, that would put us farther and farther behind. And we're already here because we feel like the timeline is at a point when it's difficult.
I joined Commissioner McKinley. I hear bumpy, I hear, significant, and I hear like we're out of time. I don't want to say what happened, but can we have at least until a week or two to look at this thing so I can make a deliberate decision? And I'm looking at staff. Is it?
Commissioner Sacks, I think you have your answer. I think it's Fisher
Now
cut
or
bait
nothing,
today.
huh?
I think we need to make a decision today and whether we're going to give a one-year extension.
Sorry it happened like this, but, and hopefully it won't happen again, because.
Thank you.
Well, it's going to be 5 years, so it's not going to happen again on our watch. All right, I'm going to call the question. This is a motion to deny item 3B3. The motion was made by Commissioner Marino. It was seconded by Commissioner Bernard. I'm going to ask for a roll call, please.
Commissioner McKinley?
It was a yes.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Sacks?
Yes.
Commissioner Bernard?
Yes.
Commissioner Kerner?
No.
Commissioner Marino?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Weiss?
Yes.
Mayor Weinroth?
Yes, I just want to point out to Commissioner Sacks, I just want to make sure that you understand that you voted to deny the one-year extension. Was that your intention?
If I ever need any clarification on my vote, I will definitely talk to you, Mayor, and not the lawyer.
Okay, so you're definitely a yes. So we have 6 yeses and 1 no. So the motion has now been approved, so we need to have a follow-up now.
So we need to give direction to staff
To give
now.
direction to staff. Staff, make it happen. I think you've heard it. I think the clerk of court is still sitting here and watching. You understand what's in front of you. You have made a lot of commitments to us today.
Yes, sir.
And we are really depending on you to do what you have promised and not to disrupt the coverage for our employees, to make every effort to make sure every employee is going to have continuity of coverage and continuity of their provider so that we don't hear about this on January 2nd.
Mr. Mayor, you have our commitment to do so, and I want to thank the commission and staff for your vote of confidence. We are here to serve you and to serve the members and employees of the county, and we will take very, very good care of all of you.
All right, well, we'll see you back here at our next meeting when we hopefully will then approve this retroactively.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you very much, everybody.
Mayor, may I just say one word?
You may have two
Thank
more
you.
words.
To the representatives of Aetna that are in the room, thank you for your many years of serving our county.
Cigna.
I'm sorry, Cigna. Aetna was number 3, sorry. Cigna, thank you for the many years of service that you gave to our county and worked with our staff. And thank you to our staff. I know we threw a curveball at you today, but the process is a process for a reason, and
Scott had a full head of hair when he started this job.
thank you.
Thanks for the curveball. I have quite a catcher's mitt, so we'll make it happen. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. All right. Do you want to take a 5-minute break? Yeah, let's take a 5-minute break and then we'll move on. Thank you. lost Vice Mayor. All right, now I have my quorum. Sachs is here, so we can start. Let it be known. All right, we're going to go on to some non-controversial items now. We're going to move on to 5A1, Environmental Resource Management.
Hi, good morning. My name is Deborah Drum. I'm the Department Director of Environmental Resources Management. Regular item 5A1 is asking for your approval of the interlocal agreement with the Florida Inland Navigation District, which will include us receiving just under $950,000 for dredging of part of the Intercoastal Waterway. And so it recognizes that budget amendment and authorizes the county administrator or designee to sign all future time extensions and other forms. That's standard language in our contracts. The maintenance dredging for this project moves sands that's deposited in the flood shoal back to the beach as required by state statute, and non-compatible beach sand is placed elsewhere in the lagoon, largely for our restoration projects. We do these kind of agreements to reduce our project cost for the county. We routinely partner with partners like Find and with the city of Boynton Beach when dredging portions of the flood shoal are necessary at the South Lake Worth Inlet. The reason we wanted to highlight this to you today is that cost benefit is definitely in considering the contract language and any necessary deviations from our county PPM, and we work closely with the county attorney's office who is here today on these types of contracts where we have the opportunity to receive large quantities of funds from the state and federal grants, and it helps fund our restoration and shoreline protection projects, but sometimes we have to make exceptions to standard contract language in doing so. With that, we would ask for your approval.
Thank you, Ms. Drum. I appreciate that presentation. Of course, I always enjoy seeing money going to District 4, so I doubly thank you. Anybody here have any comments, or does anybody want to make a motion to approve? I have a motion by Vice Mayor Weiss, seconded by Commissioner Marino, to approve 5A1, A, B, and C. Seeing no further discussion, all in favor, all opposed, show it as approved 7-0. Lost my count.
Appreciate your support.
Thank you. By the way, I would just like to remind my colleagues, because of the action we just took, the cone of silence is still over us with respect to the contract that is still open until it is negotiated by our staff, just to remind you. Okay, let's move on to 5B1. This is on Palm Tran.
5A2, I'm sorry, sir.
I'm sorry. I'm trying to move fast, and, you know. Okay, 5A2, I have a motion by Commissioner Kerner. Do I have a second? I have a second by the Vice Mayor. See no further discussion. All in favor, all opposed, show that is approved, 7-0. Thank you very much for your erudite presentation. All right. Time for our friends over at Palm Tran. We have renegotiated the contracts. We've had discussion during our agenda review. Is there any need for a presentation? Seeing no presentation required.
We do have one card, Mr. Mayor.
You have one card? Very good. Let's get the card. Mr. Mattingly, I bet you're the card. Let me guess. You will have 3 minutes or any portion thereof.
Thank you, Mayor Weinroth and Commissioners, Vice Mayor Weiss and Administrator Virginia Baker. With me today is Vice President of our local Iran, Joey Acevedo, and our Financial Secretary, Marcos Rodriguez. First of all, let me thank Virginia Baker, Todd Bonlaren, and of course Mr. Forbes for the assistance they gave us and the very timely discussions that we had during negotiations. And I want to thank the board for this time today that we have to bring to you this contract. It places us in a better competitive position, being able to hire operators and being able to compete in the real world that we're in. We also had a lot of opportunities to look at other transit agencies in the state and do comparisons, and that's what we focus on very vividly and many times. So the collaboration that we were able to reach and partnership that we have with Mr. Forbes worked together for us to reach this time that we were able to reach an agreement before our current contract expired. Our membership voted on September the 11th, and we voted overwhelmingly to ratify this agreement, and so we're looking for your approval to ratify that today, and we hope that you do so. I'll take any questions if you have any, and Joey or Marcos, you want to say anything?
Good morning. I want to thank everybody, the Board of County Commissioners, for helping ATU 1577 change lives in Palm Beach County.
Good morning. I'd like to thank you all for investing back into your community. It's really important to our youth to see that there is gainful employment here in West Palm Beach County, and that is all thanks to you. Thank you.
Thank you all. We certainly do appreciate, especially during the pandemic, that you continued working and keeping our residents moving, and we thank you for everything you do on a daily basis. Commissioner McKinley, you're recognized.
Thanks. Dwight, this is actually, it is the last time I will go through a contract negotiation with you. I don't recall in my 12-year history of the county of a contract negotiation with ATU going as smoothly as this one went. So I want to thank you for negotiating in really good faith. You and your team, but you represent everyone at ATU. You have been an unbelievable fighter for the folks that put you in a position to represent them. Sometimes we've agreed, sometimes we haven't, but your intentions have always been good, and you've always had your employees in mind when you're doing the work that you do. So I just want to thank you for all of your years of service, and to you and to Todd and Clinton and the rest of the team for making this happen so smoothly. It makes our life easier. So congratulations on a good contract.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Commissioner McKinley. Commissioner Kerner?
Thank you, and I'd like to second Commissioner McKinley's motion. And in doing so,
Thank you. I do make the motion.
we all appreciate and honor the work that you guys do, and it's something that we take very seriously. It is a lifeline to our community, and we know that it's a difficult job. Whatever the job is within the company, it has its own challenges and difficulties, and we hope that by voting and passing this today that you see the appreciation and respect that we have both for your union leadership, and particularly the members as well. So thank you for that. If I could just impose upon the three of you to fill out a comment card for this agenda item, we would appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Bernard.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just want to make sure that we thank the Palm Trend bus operators who are on the road and serving our residents, because without them, they're the front line, they're the customer service for Palm Beach County. So thanks to them. And also, Clinton, thank you for your leadership. Todd, these negotiations, when we're voting on it, it seems easy, but I know that it took a lot of time, a lot of hours, hard work, and it pays off. And thank you, Madam Administrator, for letting them lead.
Thank you, Commissioner. And I'll just look back at the proclamation. We did this earlier, and I see where it says 25,000 rides a day, and that's no small amount, and I certainly know that takes a lot of cars off the road. And certainly those people who are not riding Palm Trend still need to understand that this is making congestion a lot easier to tolerate. And so whether you're on Palm Trend or not, you're getting the benefit of Palm Trend. Do you want to go ahead and again mention the promotion you're having this week?
Yes, we encourage the public to take advantage of Mobility Week, where we'll be allowing our customers to go to our website at palmtrend.org and download our Paradise Pass app. And on that app, if you input mobility, you ride fare free that
A free ride, all right, you can't get anything better. It's happening all week, or what's?
all week. All week during Mobility Week.
Okay, during
which is-
Mobility Week, which is October 21st to 28th.
Exactly. Thank you.
Okay, now, one last question for our county administrator. I see where the impact of this contract is $3.8 million. Is that in the budget that we just passed?
That is over a period of years, and it is rolled into, they've got sufficient funds to cover.
Okay, just want to make sure that we're not breaking the bank here. I'm looking for a motion.
We have the motion?
Do we have a motion? Okay, I have my motion, I have my second. You guys got it over there? You're good. All right. all in
Mayor,
favor?
sorry.
Excuse me?
Mayor, I just need the vote count.
We didn't do
So
it
I have-
yet.
no.
We're doing it right now.
Okay, I'm sorry.
All in favor, all opposed, 7-0. You got your vote count.
Thank you very much. Board.
No, thank you. All right, we're going to move on to public safety. This is 5C1.
So, Mayor, Vice Mayor, board members, as our team is walking up here.
Masimba.
Yes.
I would like to recognize Masimba's work in all of this. He has been outstanding in doing the research and keeping us well within scope. So I want to publicly thank him because we don't do that enough. Thank you.
Ditto. Echo
Ditto.
that Wholeheartedly.
Okay.
Incredible partner in the team. So thank you to the County Attorney's Office and Ms. Simba. So as our team is coming up on this particular item. So joining me at the table, Stephanie Shanaha, our Public Safety Director, Jan Steele, who is our Director of Animal Care and Control, and maybe a new face that you might not know, Dr. Kathleen Woody, who is our new Chief Veterinarian over at Animal Care and Control, and wanted her to join us as well. So you all might recall during our last budget hearing, there were some discussions that the board had on spay-neuter. And the administrator thought that this would be a good opportunity for us on this particular item, just to kind of collectively share with you some of the partnerships and the activities and the work that we do on spay and neutering in our community as a whole. The actual item before you today is the approval of the agreement with the Peggy Adams League of Palm Beaches for spaying and neutering our at-risk dogs and cats as part of our countdown to zero. But we wanted to dig in a little bit deeper into that with the presentation we have, and we've asked Jan to take the lead on that and take us through that. So Jan?
Okay, thank you, Commissioners. I appreciate you welcoming us here today. And I'm going to, in the interest of time, I'm going to make this a little bit brief, Mayor. So with our Countdown to Zero, which started 9 years ago, we have made tremendous strides with our spay and neuter efforts. We have decreased our euthanasia dramatically. We have decreased our intake into our shelters through shelter diversion. So we're doing a really good job, but we still have a little bit more to go. And let's see, there, next. There are a lot of spay-neuter services within Palm Beach County. In addition to private veterinarians, there are 9 other low-cost spay and neuter organizations. We work with 3 of them, and we're negotiating with a 4th one. And we're trying to make sure that every aspect of the county is covered, north, south, east, and west. And so that's where we're choosing our contractors to make sure that people in every part of the county can have access to low-cost spay-neuter services. One of the questions that comes up quite a bit is mobile spay-neuter services. It's a great idea. It is something that we currently do not have the staffing or the finances for, but it is something that we want to look into in the future. Right now, we find the best bang for the buck is doing these large-scale spay-neuter weekends where we can do over 200 animals in a weekend. Until we get our population under control, that seems to be one of our best bets, but future use of a mobile spay-neuter clinic is a wonderful idea.
And Jan, if I could just add, we did for a time do spay neuters, as did many of our partners, but with COVID, they moved away from that. There are some of them that are looking at that again as an opportunity, and we'll continue to work with them to see if there's some opportunities for us to target some of those hard-to-reach places to make sure that we can cover our entire county, particularly with people who maybe don't have vehicles to get to locations for those services. So we'll continue to keep you updated on that particular service.
So with the spay-neuter demand being so high, and a lot of the animals that we are targeting are those community cats, which don't technically have owners, one of the things we're looking at is what's called targeted TNVR, which means we go into a community and we trap all of the cats and we spay and neuter all of them, then move on to another high-risk community. So by doing this, and doing this at least 4 times a year with contracted vets, we're able to start getting a handle on some of these communities that the cats are kind of going a little overboard. So we are using all of our vet resources at the shelter itself to target our animals at the shelter. These are animals that have no other veterinary resources, so all of our veterinary resources we do need to prioritize for those shelter animals. And because we need to make sure that all animals leaving our shelter are spayed or neutered, that's where a lot of our vet resources go. And to try and balance out the community needs, that's why we go these outside contracts. So Peggy Adams, Furry Friends, Barky Pines, and in the future, let's see, I've got
Tri-County.
Tri-County, and then Furry Friends is the one we're negotiating now. So we are hoping to increase our spay-neuter numbers up to our targeted 18 to 20,000 a year, but the only way we can do that is by adding in these additional contracts and looking at why it is that we are having such a problem getting and keeping good vets. And this is not just us. It's not just Florida. It is nationwide. There is a nationwide vet shortage. And what we're finding is there's not enough vet students graduating from vet school to fill the existing 15,000 to 18,000 vacancies every year. And there's a projection of a need for over 40,000 veterinarians by the year 2030. So when we start looking at that gap and what we can do in the county, we talk with vet students, and we talk with current practitioners, why is it you don't want to come work for our shelter? So some of the things they're looking at is work-life balance, the ability to pay off very large student loans, and having a great place to work. So that's both the culture of the facility and the facility itself. So do we have state-of-the-art surgery rooms? Do we have treatment rooms? Some of those things we can do right now. Some of those things, with Dr. Woody's assistance, we're actually targeting for the future. So we've kind of put them into 2 different baskets. We're an emphasis on recruitment and an emphasis on best practices. So through the recruitment, Dr. Woody is also making contacts throughout the county with academia, talking with interns, talking with externs, talking with graduating students. Who can we bring in? Who is currently in private practice that may want to come in and look at doing community good? What can they be helping us with? Looking at emphasizing our county benefits. We have some amazing county benefits here. And so by telling people, hey, if you come in, you work for us for 5 years, we can work with you on your student loan forgiveness. What about our retirement benefits? What about our great leave benefits? And the fact that we're going to be doing a $43 million renovation in the next 5 years is a really big draw also. So one of the last things we're working on is the work-life balance side of it. So with Dr. Woody here, working on increasing our training, our compassion fatigue training especially, and then looking at things that our vet staff right now, because of limited staff size, are working on call 10 to 12 days a month. That's really hard when you're already putting in 10-hour days in a very high-stress situation. So we're in the midst of negotiating a contract, which I hope to bring to you next month, that will allow us to have our overnight emergency vet coverage covered by one of the largest emergency vet companies in the county, Palm Beach County. So I'm hoping that that's actually going to help us with that work-life balance in addition. And I'm sorry to kind of speed through this, but I wanted to make sure that you at least got all the highlights today. Does anyone have any questions for me?
I appreciate that presentation. Just one question, then Vice Mayor has a question or a point. On the trap and release, you've changed your tactics on that now. You're focusing on a neighborhood rather than just sort of looking at this as a global issue?
Yes, one of the things that we've found out is by spreading it out where we originally had it so that you could only do 2 appointments at a time, it made sure everybody was treated equitably. But what happens is if you've got 10 cats in an area and you spay and neuter 2 this month and 2 6 months later, you're still having that massive population explosion. Whereas if we would take and say we're going to go some of our targeted areas like in Green Acres or in Palm Springs, if we can go in and do 200 to 300 over a 3 to 4 week span, that's a much bigger bang for the buck. That clears that whole area out. those animals are not going to reproduce over the next couple of years, then we can move on to the next one. We'll receive a much better decrease in our population of feral cats by doing targeted. It's going to take a little transition time because right now we have over 400 people waiting for spay-neuter services. So we are transitioning this, but that's why these contracts are so important, to try and also work on our outreach in the community.
Very good, thank you. Vice Mayor?
Thank you, Mayor. And thank you. Nice to meet you, Dr. Woody, and thank you for your service. As somebody who has many of your animals come stay in our house for a period of time, it's
18 at last count?
No, we have 8 right now.
Oh,
8
8.
fosters. Three of them are on bottles. But I mean, the point is that it is a community effort, and really want to thank you and your staff, I mean, for all you do. And you know, just for the public to also know that it's, I mean, obviously, we'd wish we had unlimited resources, but the reality is, even with unlimited resources, there's still a labor shortage that does impact this. However, the numbers belie the work that you all are doing. I mean, they really do show the reduction in the number of euthanasias that are needed to be performed, and the live releases where people are able to find homes for these animals. I want to go ahead and make a motion to move this item forward. And just thank you again for all your hard work, and there's so many people that are very appreciative of everything you all are doing.
Okay, I have a motion by the Vice Mayor for, this is item 5C1. I have a second by Commissioner Sacks. Do I have any other discussion? Seeing no further discussion, all in favor, all opposed, show this item has been approved 7-0. And again, welcome. All right, we're on the home stretch here.
Oh, it's Jan's birthday today, too. I forgot to mention that.
Where are we going after lunch?
Yeah, we're almost ready for lunch here. You taking us out?
This always takes the employees.
Oh, that's what it is? Oh, Verdina, you taking her out?
I think it's Todd. Oh, Stephanie.
Okay, 5C2, Public Safety, Part 2. I just find it interesting, this is called iPause.
Thank you,
Keeping
Mayor.
up with the theme today.
I guess.
No, we're not going to pause. We're going to go quickly on this one. Thank you, Mayor, and we're also joining us along with Ms. Shanahan, Mary Blakeney, our Emergency Management Director, and David Behar, our Assistant County Attorney. And we have a brief presentation for you on the system, which many of you might be very familiar with after this past week, but wanted to share a couple of other components of it. So, Stephanie, would you like to start us out?
Sure, thank you, Todd. Good morning, Commissioners, almost afternoon. I will make this brief. So just a little bit about iPause and what it is. It's FEMA's national system for local alerting that provides authenticated emergency and life-saving information to our residents. iPause, which is the acronym we'll use throughout this presentation, was established as a requirement for the United States to have an effective, reliable, integrative, flexible, and comprehensive system to alert and warn our residents. The original agreement with FEMA was executed in 2015. There's no additional cost associated with access to iPause system, and we already have the equipment and software in place. So iPause allows alerting authorities to write their own message using commercially available software that is common alerting protocol compliant. Typical alerting authorities include your federal, state, local governments, territorial, and tribal. The message is then delivered to iPause, where it is authenticated and then delivered simultaneously through multiple communication pathways. Through iPause, one message is created to reach as many people as possible to save lives and protect property. So utilizing multiple pathways for public alerts increases the likelihood that the message will successfully reach the public, and iPause is structured to facilitate this functionality. iPause alerts can be sent during times of imminent threat to life to geographically targeted areas via 3 pathways: wireless emergency alerts, emergency alert system, non-weather emergency messages. So wireless emergency alerts are not text messages, but geographically targeted notifications to all cellular devices within that range. These are similar notifications received during amber alerts and tornado warnings. With WEA messages, any areas within Palm Beach County can be targeted. In fact, just recently last week, you all probably heard on your cell phones in the middle of the night an alert that came through regarding Hurricane Ian. We all received that wireless emergency alert on our cell phones from iPOS through the National Weather Service for a tornado watch this past Tuesday night. So emergency alert system messages are distributed through news media and radios, and non-weather emergency messages are sent over the NOAA weather radio, however, are non-weather emergency messages, and these alerts target all of Palm Beach County. So if you're not receiving the alert through iPOS as of last week, this is a way to show you how to do it on your phone. It's likely that your device is opted out of receiving alerts. So to check this, you can all open your phones. Simply go to the settings in your phone, then to notifications, and scroll all the way to the bottom of the screen where you will see government alerts. Then you can turn the type of alert on if it's currently off. We are encouraging you to keep that alert on.
Okay.
Got it? All right. So now I would like to turn it over to Mary to talk about the other communication resources that we have here in emergency management. Mary?
As part of our four-step emergency preparedness program, you know, we're all talk about building a plan, making a kit, getting involved, and being informed. So Palm Beach County also has a system in place called Alert PBC, which allows individuals to opt in to receive notifications via phone calls, text messages, and emails. The system will be used to notify you of threats in your community. These are systems that we, right here in Palm Beach County, can launch with Alert PBC. We encourage individuals to sign up for Alert PBC by visiting alertpbc.com. They can create a profile to add their contact information and location information, and you can choose multiple locations. So you can get emergency communications for your home, your workplace, a family member's home. You can put multiple addresses in that system. All information collected through the system is confidential. It's protected from public records. So if you think you have too many apps on your phone, another plug for one of our communication tools, we encourage you to add one more, because there's one app that can really help our residents in the community, and it's the PBC DART app. PBC DART app is a mobile application for both Apple and Android, and it can be used for the public to check things like evacuation orders and zones, check shelter locations and status locate, to update and status on nearby stores that have generators, and report damage to their homes or businesses should we have been impacted from an event like they had on the West Coast. The ability to upload pictures of the affected area. PBC DART app features preparedness and recovery information for members of our community. So just remember that fourth point of being informed. Communication is key in an emergency, and the EOC provides multiple levels of communication: traditional print, radio, and television media outlets, our website, www.pbcgov.org, or simply remember readypbc.org, our emergency information call center, our social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and then, of course, our phone application, PBC DART.
Great. Question. We had a tornado touchdown in unincorporated Palm Beach County near Delray Beach. I never got a warning. I'm in the city of Boca Raton. How targeted are those warnings? I mean, is it within...
The warning should have been sent to your phone through iPOS and the National Weather. We actually sent one out, Alert PBC. So did you have the alert notification checked on your phone?
When I just checked, it was in there. All right.
It might have been targeted. Mary can answer.
The National Weather Service, when individuals get the iPOS weather notifications, either through iPOS directly or through Alert PBC, those are automatically launched by the National Weather Service in Miami. So they look at what they anticipate the path of that severe weather to be, and they'll capture all the phone numbers within that path. So fortunate for you, you must have lived with outside of that.
So I got to sleep that night.
That area, correct. But when those are also launched, there will be a link to that that'll show basically a static image. We've heard a lot about that static image. It does not originate from our office. It does come out of the National Weather Service Miami. So one of our takeaways of this is to talk to them about that image in hopes that we can potentially have better graphics with some of those messages, but that's how those messages are launched out of the local weather service office.
Very good.
And if you're signed up through Alert PBC, which you may not be, but if you do create a profile, depending on the profile information that you put in, whether it's your work location or your home address, you would also get an alert that way.
Very good. Anybody else have questions? Commissioner Sachs?
I want to thank you, all of you, for your conscientiousness and how much you worked with the area that was hit by the tornado spun by Hurricane Ian. And Mary, you did an amazing job putting together a request to the federal government for FEMA funds. We are not listed as one of the counties that should receive FEMA funds, although there are targeted areas in our community, and you did a magnificent job, all of you, in putting that together. If Ed Chase, Ed is here, and thank you also, Ed, for participating in, from the county through the state to federal government. Let me give a shout out to Congresswoman Lois Frankel, who hand-delivered that to the President in the White House. So we might be able to get some help for our people here who are severely impacted by it. But it starts right there in the county at your road. Thank you so much for that.
Thank you, Commissioner Sachs. I have a motion to receive and file from the Vice Mayor, seconded by Commissioner Kerner. All in favor, all opposed, show that is approved 7-0. Thank you very much for the report. Okay, we're going to move on to Commission District appointments. I'm going to start with District 1.
None at this time, thank you.
District 2.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to appoint Jim Kowalski to the EMS Advisory Council and Marina Desiderio to the Library Advisory Board.
All right, I have a motion by the Vice Mayor, seconded by Commissioner Kerner. Seeing no discussion, all in favor, all opposed, 7-0. All right, District 3. Nay. District 4, Vice Mayor, would you please?
Yes, I'd like to appoint Megan Bobb to the Library Advisory Board.
I have a second by Commissioner Sachs. All in favor, all opposed, show it is approved 7-0. That's all for District 4. District 5? None. District 6?
I'd like to reappoint Tinu Pena to the Aviation and Airports Advisory Board.
I have Commissioner McKinley's motion, and I have a second by the Vice Mayor. All in favor, all opposed, 7-0. Any others? No? District 7?
None, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Commissioner Bernard. All right, it's time for our favorite county administrator.
Just the board directives, we've updated a number of them. The first one, to retain a third-party consultant on development west of 441. We're still working on that. We've narrowed it down to 2 consultants, so we'll continue to vet them and bring it back to the board, a contract back to the board for approval. So we're still working on that process.
Okay, I have a motion to receive and file by Commissioner Bernard, seconded by Commissioner Kerner. Seeing no further discussion, all in favor, all opposed, 7-0, received, filed. County Attorney, what do you got to say for yourself? Come on, don't be so quiet down there. All right, we're going to move on to Commissioner comments. We'll go in reverse order this time. Commissioner Bernard.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to request an off-site certificate of recognition presented to Bob and Jeannie Taylor.
I got a second by Commissioner Kerner. All in favor, all opposed, 7-0.
No other comments, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Commissioner McKinley?
Thank you, Mayor. I've got one comment, one request. The request I'll go with first, was contacted a few days ago by Stephen Layton from Congressman Brian Mast's office. Stephen is part of a group called 25 United Disaster Relief. You may be familiar with that. That's the organization that we worked with to provide 2 decommissioned fire rescue vehicles to the Bahamas after Hurricane Dorian hit. Stephen has put together, that organization has put together a response team to head to Port Charlotte, to Charlotte County this weekend. We have been in touch with Commissioner Bill Truix from the Charlotte County Commission. They're targeting Charlotte County employees to try to help fix their homes so those employees can get back to work and responding and doing recovery efforts for their county. As part of that, I have signed up and will be heading over immediately following former Deputy Chief Mark Anderson's funeral services on Saturday. They've asked if I can bring roofing nails, hammers, and tarps. I am handling the hammers through the Junior League and the roofing nails through another organization, but I have asked staff if they can look at our inventory to see if there are tarps available that we can donate for this effort. So I want your blessing and give direction to staff to look at our inventory to see if we can do that.
Without objection.
Thank you very much. And then the last item I have, Mayor, at our last workshop, we had a presentation by John Hulick on the opioid response plan in Palm Beach County. I would like staff to bring that back to us so that we can ratify that plan and make it official. I would really like the county commission moving forward to be the one that is directing the community conversation on how best to help our constituents on this issue. You know, it's near and dear to my heart on this one. And part of that is, in order to receive some of the lawsuit, the settlement proceeds, we are supposed to have an advisory committee looking at that. Part of the original plan that we approved in 2017 was to create a behavioral health, substance use, and co-occurring disorder steering committee. It has never been formally initiated. They have a very loose group right now, but to make sure we don't get sideways in receiving those settlement funds, I believe we need to make that an official committee of the county, and we've already got the staff that's doing the work with the more informal group, but we need to formalize that.
I see no objection.
Thank you.
County
And this
Administrator?
will be like our normal advisory committees, correct?
Right. I mean, they're doing the work already. They just haven't been formalized, and I would like it to be formalized.
And I think this was a prerequisite to sharing in the money that's going to be trickling down from the opioid settlement.
Thank you.
Very good. Thank you, Commissioner McKinley. Commissioner Sacks.
Well, thank you very much, Mayor. And I'd like to acknowledge our county administrator who was present at the scene of one of the most horrific disasters I've seen in my lifetime, and that was at Kings Point in Delray as a result of the tornado hitting that area. And also, Sheriff Bradshaw had Captain Sand and Captain Helfer there helping the folks and maintaining order. And of course, our fire rescue was there present with the Chief Kennedy was there, also Chief Durnan was there. And of course, the people of Kings Point have been very strong and resilient, and thanks to Todd to finding them shelter until we could find homes for them, as well as for Danielle Hartman of the Jewish Family Services, which really stepped up to help the folks at Kings Point. So you can see that we are really a team, Palm Beach County. We brought all, and this was hours within this tornado hitting this area. And to tell you, Mayor, I got that alert of the tornado. It was, you know, it was close, and it was sad that it affected so many of our elderly in such a frightening way. But we came forward and we took care of the job, and we still are today. And then if I could wish all our friends during Yom Kippur an easy fast and a healthy and peaceful new year. as we observed one of the holiest days in the Jewish calendar.
Thank you, Commissioner Sachs. Okay, let's move on to Commissioner Kerner.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to make a motion to request an off-site proclamation declaring October 2022 as Domestic Violence Awareness Month in Palm Beach County.
Seconded by the Vice Mayor. All in favor, all opposed, 7-0. Very good, thank you. Commissioner Marino.
Thank you. I would like to request an off-site proclamation recognizing the 45th anniversary of the Hispanic Human Resources Council.
We have a second by the Vice Mayor. All in favor, all opposed, 7-0.
And since that's a little bit retroactive, since I gave it to them on Saturday, and Mac was there, it was a wonderful event, and I do appreciate the ability to do off-site proclamations. The amount of people that were in the room that received and heard the proclamation is impressive, and it's a good thing that we do that, and the recognition was well deserved. And I just want to say also that I'd like to thank our staff. I reached out to the North End mayors about emergency management service, emergency management that we have in place, and our North End mayors and managers were very happy to be on the call, and they're happy that the county is including them. So I just wanted to pass on. They all gave us kudos for how we did it, and I just wanted to pass that on. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you, Commissioner Marino. Vice Weiss.
Thank you, Mayor. I just, a moment, to acknowledge all the first responders and volunteers that have gone over and helping out over on the west coast of Florida after Hurricane Ian. As a reminder to everybody to just how important it is to be prepared. We have our emergency management team here, and they do a fabulous job, but everybody's got to be able to make decisions and be aware and do the best they can to be safe. With that, I also share the wish for everybody who are is observing tomorrow, an easy fast, and that you all be sealed in the Book of Life. Thank you.
Vice Weiss, do you have a couple of proclamations you want to request permission for?
Do I?
Yeah,
I think so.
Oh, they're on my list?
Here
I
you go.
didn't look. Oh, I do, sorry. I need a couple of proclamations. We are going to be doing an off-site proclamation. I'd like to move for declaring October 14th as Women in Franchising Appreciation Day in Palm Beach County, and then on October 10th, 2022, as Cayuga Centers Week in Palm Beach County.
Okay, we have a motion by the Vice Mayor, seconded by Commissioner Kerner. All in favor, all opposed. That's approved 7-0. Any further remarks?
No, sir.
All
Thank you.
right.
Thanks for the
All right.
lift.
No problem. I'm usually taken care of by Commissioner Bernard. He helps me out. All right. First, as far as Kings Point, I mean, we were very, very fortunate. There was no loss of life. It certainly was terribly destructive. There are a lot of lives that are going to be disrupted, and I'm not quite sure how many of those units are going to be red tagged and eventually have to be reconstructed. But I know there's, thankfully, you can replace a house, you can replace a car, you can't replace someone who's killed, and certainly we're very fortunate that, as bad as it was, that no one got killed. I also want to thank JFS, the Jewish Family Services, Danielle Hartman, for stepping up and helping us with the relocation of some of those people. One of the things that came up during our visit over there, and I was with with Commissioner Sachs and with the county administrator and several members of our staff, and the rapid response there was great, and I think the residents appreciated the fact how quickly people got there to lend a hand. But one of the problems that I think that we heard about was that medication is not being, there is no place at this particular community for residents that have lost power to transfer their medications or to get new medications because they may have been spoiled by the power blackout, and to have them available, whether it's insulin or something else that needs to be refrigerated. And the powers that be at this community were reticent to actually offer those facilities. I would like to ask staff to review that and see if we don't need to do something a little bit more direct and maybe have an ordinance that requires that there be some facility in these homeowners associations or condo associations that establishes a place where especially senior residents can go and put their medications so that they are not left in a position where they are looking for a home for their medications. And Commissioner Sachs, I see you pushed your button. I'm sure you were also struck by those comments.
I want to thank you for being there, Mayor, because having the mayor of the county at any place where people have been really completely their lives disrupted means a lot. It gives them a lot of sense of stability. This issue of having generators, and I see Ed is here and Todd is here from our lobbying team. We did this in the state legislature, mandating generators for all ACL, assisted living facilities. The issue with HOAs that we will have to pursue is one of insurance, and that is to maintain a refrigerator that is generated by an outside power source to keep their medications. If we could get some state help on that with the insurance issue, that would be very helpful for the county, Mayor, because it is a big issue, and we're almost out of hurricane season, but you never know, and it is good to know how we can help all of our large retirement centers maintain refrigeration for their people. But I think that that's a good directive to the staff, Mayor, and I think that's also a good directive to our lobbying team in the state to give us some insurance coverage if it's a state law that will mandate that, like they do for the assisted living facilities. That'd be very good. And thank you for being there.
Yeah, and again, I think that there's an indemnity questioning there, and that there was liability issues. So I think if Mr. Bonlair and Mr. Chase and others of our legislative group and our staff can look into this issue. But I was struck by the fact that, again, residents are left without a place to safely store their medications, and we need to help them in that. I was also fortunate to join a couple of members of the commission at a open house for Place of Hope's new location, the Kids Sanctuary over in West Palm Beach. We are very fortunate, as big as our county government is, and as much as we're able to do for our residents, we really count on the nonprofits. As I mentioned before, Jewish Family Services stepped up and helped us with Kings Point. But Place of Hope has been there. In Boca Raton, we had the Haven, which wasn't able to proceed with its mission. Place of Hope came in and has been able to handle the mission of handling children who are in the foster care system and help them and make sure there's a safe place for them to be. Kids Sanctuary, the same kind of situation. In fact, they were just literally handed the keys by the previous owners, and Charles Bender and his people do a wonderful job, and I can't say enough for what they've done for the children and young adults and helping them, especially when they're in the dependency system. So I thank our nonprofits out there who are out there, and we've talked about Junior League a lot for everything they're doing, and we are certainly very fortunate to have them as partners. Finally, as has been said a couple times before, we're approaching Yom Kippur tonight, so those of you who are of Jewish faith, I wish you an easy fast, and I believe that is, oh, yes, Commissioner McKinley.
Just one comment, Mayor, on your Place of Hope. Beautiful comments, but I must acknowledge Virginia Baker and Ramsey Bulkley and the fire chief, it was Chief Duran at the time, for expediting everything that needed to happen in order for Place of Hope to be able to open up that kids sanctuary. There were some old issues there that had to be resolved before we could turn over the keys to them. And so thank you, Ms. Baker, and your team.
And we know that our county administrator is always there to facilitate. as she is going to be with this new insurance policy. That being said, we are going to recess until 2 o'clock. We will be back for matters by the public, and we are in recess.